And we're back. Look at how quick that was. That was literally 10 seconds going over from one stream to the next. And we appreciate everybody coming over. Gonna give everybody a little bit of time to just click that link that I posted on the other place. We are going to keep honoring the super chats and the donations and the memberships of everybody who did that on the other block. So I'm literally just adding everything as we go. So you'll notice here on the bottom, okay, two things are going to be counted. You're going to have your super chat people, and then you're also going to have your YouTube memberships. So anybody who got a YouTube membership today, anybody who's super chatted today, you're going to appear right here at the bottom. If I missed somebody, tell me. Put it in. I may have missed somebody. There's a lot going on. So if I missed somebody, don't be afraid to speak up, and we'll do that. So as people come in, I'm going to put the link here because we are inviting people to call in and call the show. But while we're letting people in, I'm going to go ahead and talk about some topics, and then we'll then by the time everybody filters their way over here, we can keep going. So Jaden Davis watch. So because I'm not going to be on the show this Wednesday, I am out on business in Orlando. So I will not be on the Michigan Wolverines live show. So I thought, well, why not, while we're letting people in, let's do a little Jaden Davis watch. He is committing Friday. It's the decision, like LeBron. You remember LeBron, the decision? And his final schools, this is in the order that they appear on social media: Ohio State, Michigan, Tennessee, Clemson, UNC. Okay, Jaden Davis has 7 crystal balls. He did have 6. Now he has 7, including Corey Fravel, who's actually at the Clemson Insider, not even the Michigan, but the Clemson Insider. And he has an 8 degree of confidence that Jaden Davis is coming to Michigan. This is a guy in the Clemson media, and they wanted him too. So that's pretty big. Michigan Insider has bumped up theirs, multiple of them. So we're getting some very confident crystal balls. And of course, we on our program last Wednesday, we gave Jaden Davis an official Michigan Wolverines live crystal ball, which we're very excited about. So 7 crystal balls to Michigan. He's going to be announcing on Friday, and all indications show that he's coming to Michigan. Okay, so Antoine, I don't know. I never said anything against Jason Hewitt. I looked at his tape. I think he's a great player. I just looked at a little bit of tape as requested. So I'm not exactly sure what I said about our 2023 class that was negative. But happy to talk about it. Come on the show. I'll give you the link. Let's chat. And go blue. No, I said I can't watch as much film as I'd like. That's what I said. I didn't say anything bad about the class. I'm excited. Well, okay. So yes, in terms of overall ranking, let's just compare this though. Michigan is top 3 in 2024. So all I'm saying is comparatively, Michigan's class is among the top of the top in 2024. So all I was saying, if in the past, is I've said something nice about the 2024 class. But I think the 2023 class is great too. I also think that that they are really good at developing talent. So Jason, obviously, that we talked about, Jason Hewitt, Hewlett. So basically 3-star according to these reports, but I've also seen him marked as a 4-star in various places. So that's a great ranking if in the places that he's a 4-star. He can do anything from linebacker to edge. He can be a flex on offense. He's a really talented player. Okay. Well, if I did, I mean, compared to what we expect, I think it could be a little bit better. That's all I'm saying. And I think we're making it up for the 2024 class. I think the 2024 class, when Jaden Davis and Robinson and some of these players announce, you're going to be looking at the number 1 or number 2 recruiting class in the entire country. I know you're a Michigan fan, but what do you think objectively of Matt Rule at Nebraska? I think he's a great coach. I think he has a proven history of taking programs that are not so great, like taking Temple, turning it into a 11-win program, taking Baylor and turning it into an 11-win program. I mean, he has a proven record of success in taking teams and elevating them to the next level. So I think objectively, he's a really good coach. Did he work in the NFL? No, neither did Nick Saban. It's more the exception than the rule when coaches actually work out. Harbaugh being one that did work out. Joey Foster helping us out. Share this link with friends so they can join us. Yes, if everybody shares with just 2 friends, we're gonna have so many more people, and we're gonna have a really fun 6 p.m. block. People have asked if they can call in. So we'd love to see people call in. We'd love to see people. Yes, you are, Jason. You're in. We'd love to see people do pretty much anything. We'll take calls. We'll do a panel discussion and no topic off limits as long as it's college football. No topic off limits. How did Michigan let Kalen and Kobe King get away? Kalen King will be a first cornerback in next year's draft. I mean, here's the thing. There are so many reasons why players, go to other teams, right? Obviously, he was born in Detroit, Michigan, but you also have to look at a lot of other factors. From what I understand, James Franklin is an incredible recruiter. Do I think super highly of his in-game coaching decisions? Not necessarily. But is he a great recruiter? I think we can all agree he's a great recruiter. He's a smooth talker. He is able to get himself absurd contracts, and his agent's really good, and they do a great job of doing that. He's a great recruiter, and he's definitely got to beat Ohio State and Michigan one of these years. But there are reasons. Maybe he has a lot of friends. Maybe he has a girlfriend at Penn State. I know that sounds trivial, but that does factor in sometimes. There's a lot of reasons why you might go Penn State. Maybe the fact that the quarterback class was doing pretty well, that there was Will Johnson, who was obviously going to start. Marion Walker looks like he's going to start. So Kalen probably wants to get more playing time. That's my guess. I could be wrong. People in the chat can tell me if I'm wrong. I would love to see more Orgy in the end zone. I think that he has the ability to do things that we will need in the stretch. So I think that if he's put into an RPO situation, I think that's a great idea. So what we're going to do while we're waiting for people to call in, and here's the link for people to check out, called the show. We're going to be doing a topic. All right. So we just talked about Jaden Davis. Now we're going to go over some schedule previews. And I was going to do this last week, but so many people wanted to call in that I kind of put this on hold. So we're actually... We'll do it. We'll do it this week, and we'll start with Michigan. Of course, why wouldn't we start with Michigan? Just for everybody to know, every Wednesday I help co-host Michigan Wolverines Live. I won't be on this Wednesday coming because I do have business obligations for my main role that I have to do. But I'm sure Mark will have a great show. But every Wednesday at 5 is when we do it. So here we go. Boom. All right. So let's look at the schedule. Now, our good friend, LBC Trojan Rick, and I got into it last night because he was calling out, and I think there's some merit, that our schedule consists of the East Carolina Pirates at home, the UNLV Rebels at home, the Bowling Green Falcons at home. Those 3 games seem to be very easy. Now, keep in mind that this is a trend that almost every team is doing in college football. Georgia does play Georgia Tech. That is a P5 program, so we'll give them that, but not exactly a world beater opponent. Ohio State plays Notre Dame, USC plays Notre Dame, so there are difficult games. Keep in mind that Michigan is going to, in 2024, play a team called Texas. And last I checked, they were pretty good. And then in 2025 and 26, we're playing a team called Oklahoma. And then in 2027, we're playing Texas again. So keep that in mind when you're talking about the Michigan offseason. Yes, this year, not great, but it'll be great practice and reps that we're going to need because, folks, remember this. After this year, a lot of people are leaving. Remember, Blake Corum's going to the NFL. Donovan Edwards is probably going to the NFL. Multiple members of our O-line are going to the NFL. Defense players going to the NFL. CJ is going to the NFL. Rowan Wilson's going to the NFL. So we have to get our players behind them, the reps to take over. That's so huge. Yeah. I mean, they are cupcakes. Let's be real. I've been joking about it. They're cupcakes. And other schools are doing it too. Do I love it? No. And here's why. I'm one of those people who really believes that it's good for the sport to play at least one semi-decent opponent. It's good for ratings. It's good for awareness of the various schools. And so I like to see one opponent that, for example, 2024, we're doing it, right? We're doing it. East Carolina Pirates, Jason says they are solid. Okay. Yes, please call in. We'd love to have you. I'm going to put the link again. Call in. We'd love to chat. So I'm predicting 12-0, and let me just go through the rest of the schedule, and I'll tell you why I'm predicting 12-0. And everybody's going to call me a homer, and it's fine. Okay. Rutgers Scarlet Knights at Michigan Stadium. Rutgers plays us really tough. I said this on the USC Trojan show last night. That don't sleep on Rutgers. They play us tough under Schiano. Against Chris Ash and others, not so much. But under Schiano, they play us tough. And you've got to give them their proper credit for doing that. Okay, here's an interesting one, the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Now, this is being played at Lincoln, but it's Nebraska. They're rebuilding. I've said when John Johnston called in, I've said when I've been talking to Nebraska people, when I've been talking to Cole, when I've been talking to others, that I respect Matt Rule a lot. I think he's going to need probably 2 to 3 years. Now, rebuilds don't take as long as they used to because you've got the transfer portal, you've got NIL, you've got a lot of options at your disposal, but they're still going to take time, so that's going to be a dub. Minnesota Golden Gophers, and we're playing it in Minneapolis. So this one is, Minnesota, basically except for that one terrible Brady Hoke year, Michigan's had Minnesota's number. We beat them even if it comes down to overtime, which it has in the past. Indiana Hoosiers at Michigan Stadium, they're a dumpster fire, guys. They're a dumpster fire. Let's be real. Love Indiana. If Jeffrey is around, no offense, we love Jeffrey. We love Only Talk Sports, but Indiana is in a really rough place. Yes, they do. If you go back to the past few years, 2020, in 2020 we had a overtime. We barely won in 2020. Okay, and it took a miraculous comeback from Cade McNamara because Joe Milton was stinking it up. He was throwing picks. He was not very good. Cade McNamara came in, and it was probably one of his best games he's had here. He saved us from a really bad defeat. So the answer is yes. So let's go to, we talked Indiana. That's a dub. Michigan State Spartans at Spartan Stadium. Okay. Under D'Antonio, this might be a bit tougher. Although we did kind of trade away wins for a little while, where we were winning at Michigan was winning at Spartan Stadium, and D'Antonio was winning at the Big House. It was weird, but I do think that until they can figure out their stuff, their situation, they are a 5 or 6 win team, maybe 7. Okay. Then we're off. I think we're going to win the off week. Okay, so then we've got Purdue spoiler makers at Michigan Stadium, but all of their teeth got knocked out because Jeff Brom is no longer there. So he's the one that kept Purdue really competitive, and I worry they're going to backslide to a 4-win football team now that Brom is gone. I think he was able to elevate them to a level that they just weren't at. But I could be wrong, but I don't see them winning a ton of football games. Penn State Nittany Lions. Now this one really I struggled with a lot. And I actually think that, this one you really have to worry about this one if you're a Michigan fan. And here's why. Drew Aller looks like a really good quarterback. They have a 5-star running game. They have talent all over the field, especially on offense. Their defense has been good. And so I think you got to look at that. I do think it's going to be one of those like last second wins or like a 27-26 type win. But I think Michigan is just on the warpath this year. And Blake Corum staying is what changes this from a loss to a win. If Blake Corum had gone, I might have been tempted to put this in the loss column. Maryland, and we do have our friend Rick is looks like he's calling in. I'm just going to get through the last 2 of these, and then I'll let you in. So we got Maryland Terrapins. I've been to this stadium. It's actually really fun. You should go once in your life. Very underrated. We're going to win that game. Now, do I think Maryland will score points? Yeah, they got Talia, but we're going to win that game. And finally, the Ohio State Buckeyes. This one also is a tough one because they are incentivized to beat us. They are going to throw everything. We're probably going to get Ryan Day's best ever football game he's ever coached. And the reason why is because they really can't lose 3 in a row. They can't, but guess what? I still think Michigan's going to beat them. The reason I think Michigan's going to beat them is for the same reason I thought Michigan was going to beat Penn State, because the pieces coming back for Michigan, the 81% returning productivity. I think it's going to be too much to overcome. And you're looking at here, I think there's probably non-Michigan people also predicting this. People are going to accuse me of being a homer, but 12-0. And here comes on the line, LBC Trojan Rick. I came on to your show. You're coming on to mine. Great for you to be here.
Hey, John, how are you doing? I thought we'd continue the conversation.
Oh yeah.
We were exchanging some texts or some messages in Mark's show earlier.
Yes.
But congrats on your show. Hello to everybody. I would like to. I want to learn about the Big Ten. I've followed college football for a number of years. Trojan alum, season ticket holder, and it's great to come on to shows like yours and Mark's because you see some of the comments in the chat, and a lot of people don't know about the USC football history, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is great. But if there is one team that deserves to be in the Big Ten, roll out the Cardinal and gold carpet because it's USC. I think our qualifications are a slam dunk when it comes to football, academics, etc. But we've got the heritage. You take a look at USC historically, they played 100 games against the Big Ten to date. 69, 29, and 2.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I know we've gone back and forth, but I think Michigan would be considered a blue blood. Notre Dame, Ohio State, USC.
And you are a 6-4. I think you have 6 wins and Michigan has 4 in that
correct.
Matchup. Yep.
That's correct. So, and I just like to razz you because Michigan is a big boy school. You made a comment earlier today. Other schools are doing it. Come on.
Yeah, they are.
Come on, John. You're not other schools. Michigan is not another school. You are the Big Ten. That's debatable between you and Ohio State. So you are not another school. Northwestern is another school. Illinois, Indiana are other schools. Okay. Michigan doesn't need to come up with an excuse or back out or whatever.
Well, I don't. So, I think that's so I wouldn't call it an excuse. I would call it because here's the thing. Like I said on your show on the Trojan show. The reality is I disagreed with Ward Manuel's decision to do this. I would have loved to play UCLA. Would it have been the best start for like JJ McCarthy to get his audition? Probably not. I think they would have handled the QB situation completely differently if they had played UCLA. But like I could see UCLA as a winnable game, and so the fact that Michigan didn't get their chance to prove themselves against UCLA, it personally, I was not a fan. I'm just saying that, like, in the overall landscape of college football, like, I don't hate it as much as I would in like years ago because of the fact that you can make the playoffs and have cream puff opponents. So I don't hate it as much as I could, but I am very happy that in 2024, getting back to playing real opponents in the non-con.
Well, this schedule that Michigan has this year lines up. For the college football playoff, this being the last year where there's 4 teams that make the playoff. So I'll be very disappointed. You'll be even more disappointed than me if Michigan doesn't make the college football playoff with that schedule.
Yeah.
Really, you have 2 losable games?
Yeah.
And are you at Penn State? Yeah, you're at Penn State and you host Ohio State. So your season's going to come down to those 2 games. Obviously, you play 10 others, but for the most part, you'll be heavy favorites in those 10. Am I guessing on that?
I think you're right, and we have the Buckeye perspective here too. So I'm going to bring David back in here.
Yes, okay. You do have the Buckeye. Well, gosh, I'm on here with a USC fan and a fan of that team up north.
That
team
up north, yep.
Exactly.
There you go. So wow. You know what? It's great. We got a Michigan fan, an Ohio State fan. I think there was a Penn State fan that was in the chat.
I'm really hoping they call it.
I think his name was Joey. I think the other big Michigan guy, Steve Dace, had mentioned this on his show earlier with Mark Rogers on the Voice of College Football that, USC is not going to be used to playing a Big Ten schedule week after week. And I kind of laugh at that because Steve is an older gentleman. And David, you're older in age. You've seen some football.
Yeah.
But USC, when it's at its ceiling, and a lot of teams don't know this, a lot of fans don't know this, it's built to win national championships.
Yeah.
And during the 60s and the 70s, I understand completely different football, but there were airplanes back then. Okay.
Well, I'm not that old, by the way. I don't quite remember 60s and 70s.
Okay. Well, but there's air travel, not like today.
Yeah.
There are teams in certain parts of the country that will not leave their part of the country. So 50 years ago, with John Robinson and John McKay, I mean, you go check back the history, look at USC schedules from the 60s and 70s. Many times they played 2 or 3 Big Ten teams in addition to a Notre Dame. So when they win national championships, their schedule is loaded. So to say that USC does not understand or is going to struggle when it comes to playing a physical brand of football. I disagree with it. Is USC built for it now? No, but it has the ceiling. We have to get deeper on the offensive and defensive line. Right now, the offensive lines are more deep than the defensive lines. But we have the leadership, we have the blueprint, and we've got the coaching staff to take us to where we need to be. And so for those fans that don't think that USC can compete, we're not just going to the Big Ten to show up. No, we're going to win. And it's built that way. And you look at, there's many times where, okay, we didn't play 2 or 3 Big Ten teams, but we played at an Alabama. We played at Nebraska, okay, in addition to playing like in Iowa and Minnesota. So here's a perfect example. And I'll be sharing this with Mark Rogers on his show sometime in May. Okay. But you get an example when USC's at its peak, when they won the national championships in '74, they played at Arkansas, at Pitt, Iowa, Notre Dame, and Ohio State for Rose Bowl.
Right.
That's in addition to, the Pac-8 at the time, that conference. Those are the out-of-conference games. You look at 78. They play at Bama, Michigan State, host Notre Dame, and play Michigan in the Rose Bowl. So, it's. Yeah.
I think there's something to a big game atmosphere. This is what I was going to ask John. I kind of look forward to having that big major non-conference out of game. Now, unfortunately, with USC, we played you guys twice in 08 and 09. I still thought we let the game slip away in 09. Probably one of the weaker teams of the Carroll era. That was probably his last team. You guys were obviously clearly better in 08, and Todd Beckman lost his job because of it, and probably deservedly so. That's when the Terrell Pryor era started for us. But, I thought that there's no doubt. I mean, when you have the right coach with your base of recruiting, USC is definitely capable of competing and winning national championships, as proven during that time frame. But I just wanted to maybe hear both your opinions, and then, John, especially with you guys, is it kind of disappointing that you don't have that major, non-conference game, like you guys had Notre Dame so many times in the non-conference? Yeah. I remember years back you guys did Alabama. That did not go so well. Just your thoughts on not having that, and
Well, I think that you're probably having some of the same frustrations I am because of what happened with Washington, because you're probably now feeling the same about your AD as I felt about our AD when they pulled out of UCLA. And it's for the same reason that I'm aware of, which is that to get you more home games, which I completely I get that, because Ward said the same thing. But yeah, it's disappointing when that happens. And I guess maybe call me a little old school when it comes to that particular piece. But still, I think, having one opponent that's actually not a cream puff is good for the sport. It's good for ratings. It's good for recognition, brand recognition of the schools. It's good for money. It's good for all of those things.
Yeah, I mean, I always look forward to with Ohio State. I remember 05, 06, they did the back-to-back with Texas those years. Back when Texas was really good, we had to play them the Vince Young team. Unfortunately, our USC fan probably remembers that team. But I actually enjoyed that, doing the back-to-back. And then we did the back-to-back with Oklahoma, where we played the Baker Mayfield teams. One year it went well.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, well, it went well one year and didn't go well the other year. We went storming in Norman and beat them pretty good in 16, and then lost to them in 17. But you know what I mean? It's nice to do the back-to-back. And, I think that's fun when you get the major powers playing against each other.
Mm-hmm. I think Joey mentioned in the chat, the Penn State fan, has Lincoln Riley's team ever played defense? And you know what? That's a great question. And his teams have not played defense. And that's the one thing that we're going to get to see what Lincoln Riley can do. And perhaps that's why he left Oklahoma. I don't know. There's a lot of different debate on what was going to be given to him and what kind of support he was going to get from the administration. There's a bunch of stories out there. I don't know what it is. But the team that Lincoln Riley inherited was just ridiculously it lacked talent, especially on the defensive side. And so he's an offensive coach. So he's going to come in, he's going to bring his offense, and that's his calling card. There's been a lot of improvements to the defense you'll see this year. And there's going to be another year of recruiting before we're going to the Big Ten. Are we prepared right now for the Big Ten defensively? No. But do I believe Lincoln Riley's going to get it right based on the transfer portal and the coaching staff he has and guys that were injured last year that will be playing, such as five-star Damani Jackson, Zion Branch at safety, Romello Hyde, a transfer edge rusher from Auburn. And then we got guys in the transfer portal, Anthony Lucas, defensive lineman from Texas A&M, Jamel Muhammad, rush end from Georgia State, Cobb, the middle linebacker out of Oklahoma State. So USC is a destination. Yes, we didn't clean up recruiting high school wise, but there's guys that want to come play for Caleb Williams and have a chance to win a national championship to get to the playoff. And so they're just doing it differently than the traditional recruiting. And yes, Lincoln Riley, I haven't seen a team that plays defense, so I agree with you, Joey. But I do remember seeing Pete Carroll kick Penn State's butt, actually one time Penn State in the Rose Bowl. And Clay Helton beat that same coach you have right now, James Brown. So there you go. And there was no defense playing that one, 52-49, slam dunk, the field goal at the end. All right.
Hey, I'm glad as an Ohio State fan we got a chance to end our drought against you guys. That was the one good thing about playing against Clay Helton.
You got us.
Yeah. We finally
keeps on giving. He gave Wisconsin a win.
Yeah.
He gave Iowa a win. Yes.
Right.
And you know what? Iowa kicked our butt. They just shoved it down their throat, and that was disgusting to watch as a longtime USC Trojan, to watch Kirk Ferentz. I mean, they are what they are. And they just ran it down our throats and we could do nothing. And that's when I knew he had to go. That was ridiculous.
Two things I want to do here real quick.
Sure.
First of all, honor the super chat from Jason, directly coming at David. Who does Michigan lose? Yeah, who's the third loss?
Yeah, well, I tried to say that maybe Matt Rule pulls an upset at Nebraska.
Okay.
Has a his coming out party with a big win, and
he would really be earning his money already if he did that. I mean,
hey, you know what?
Else.
Nebraska's been looking for a coach for a while. I wonder if they tried their favorite son, it didn't work out. Now they're on to Matt Rule. So,
there you go.
I will say, as an Ohio State fan, and I kind of sometimes, Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley have been likened to each other in the past. I'm sure you probably have heard. But that's the key, is you have to get the defensive coordinator right. I know, as an Ohio State fan, we're kind of going through that right now, unfortunately. I thought that Ryan Day, his first year, got the defensive coordinator right with Jeff Hafley, because our 2019 defense was a great defense.
Absolutely.
And, but he probably expected to have Jeff Hafley wasn't going to go off to Boston College after 1 year. Usually you keep a defensive coordinator more than 1 year. And I always thought that he might have held out for a better job because, no offense to, although I don't think Mark Rogers has a heavy Boston College fan base contingent. I thought that Hafley might have held out for a little bit better job than that. But yeah, that's the key. As an offensive coach, you got to get your D coordinator right. I think Andy Reid in the pros, he's an offensive minded coach, but he was able to find his right defensive coordinator, had Spagnuolo, and look at how, he was able to improve Kansas City's defense.
Yeah. Well, you guys, wasn't LBC, wasn't there something about, I want to say it's Gary Patterson, or was he coming in as an advisor, or somebody coming in as an advisor in that?
No, what happened is about 2 weeks ago, it was announced that Gary Patterson was leaving Steve Sarkisian's staff as a defensive analyst. Mm-hmm. And Tim Prangley and I on our show said, hey, give him a call. Let him say
Got it. That's what it was.
Supposedly he wanted to step away and spend time with his family, grandkids. Still, you got to give him a call. Whether USC called him or not, we don't know. But it was just announced earlier this week on Wednesday that USC hired journeyman Greg Brown as a defensive analyst. So he has experience in college and the NFL. He's coached defensive backs in the NFL for 15 years at stops at the Tennessee Oilers, San Diego Chargers, among other stops. He was last year defensive coordinator at North Carolina Charlotte, He was also at Colorado and Purdue the last 4 years. So it's somebody with a fresh set of eyes that's going to come in and give his suggestions on the personnel, scheme, what have you, and specializing with the secondary, which SC is very stacked. So hey,
the
Lincoln
chat
Riley
is going nuts about are they going to fire Ryan Day if Ryan and I think this is absurd, because if Ryan Day goes 11-1 and loses to Michigan again by like 3 points, let's say, in the Big House, that how could you possibly justify firing a guy who literally almost beat Georgia a couple months ago?
Well, that was the interesting thing. I was actually having this conversation this weekend. It still would have felt odd to me to have beaten Georgia, won the national championship, and having lost to you guys. I still wonder if some Ohio State fans would have considered that to be a disappointing season. But I guess the only way to remedy a loss to you guys would have been to win the national championship.
True.
I find it interesting that Ryan Day already has more playoff appearances than Urban Meyer. Which is interesting in and of itself. This was his third playoff appearance. Meyer only had 2.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you're not counting the game, you're just counting total as a whole.
Total appearances in the college football playoff. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting stat. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's one thing that I found to be really interesting. I mean, I think it's an important year. I mean, and I've heard some people compare him to John Cooper. I think that's a false comparison. I am old enough to remember the John Cooper years, unfortunately. And John Cooper did not have this kind of success his first 5 years at Ohio State, bottom line. I still feel that, by the way, Ryan Day was robbed of a victory in 2020. I want to add that, too. I think it's unfortunate that Ryan Day's record should be 2-2. And we'd be.
I'll give you that one. Yes, you would have played. You would have played our third or fourth string quarterback, and you would have played basically nobody, and you would have kicked our butt by like 50 points, because most of our team was out with COVID legitimately. Like, so most of the first stringers and second stringers. So you would have been basically playing. Like basically a Power 5 FBS game against like the third or fourth string of who we had. But yes, you would have won the game. I'm going to give you that.
Hey, John, slight dig to the South here, and I know we could all appreciate that. I mean, how come they never detected any COVID in the South?
Right.
During 2020.
What's that?
I didn't see a whole lot of SEC teams ravaged with COVID losses in 2020. Was it just running rampant in the Midwest and not running so rampant down south? How does that work? I mean, I'm dying to know.
It's on the same level as they don't believe in air travel in the South. Like they haven't perfected the airplane where they can leave the Southeast region to go travel and play another team. So
I see.
Yeah, it's the same type of mentality, even though people have been doing it for 50 years.
Well, keep in mind, Schlissel was very on the warpath of maybe even canceling the whole season. So I think it's good that didn't happen.
Well, yeah, but we ended up getting a half-ass season out of it, so it wasn't. I mean, the presidents and Kevin Warren handled it like a hand grenade. I still believe to this day, and to be fair, Nebraska was willing to play. They were out front on it.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of air travel, there is one team that's not afraid to travel, and that's LSU.
Yeah,
I love LSU, and for you Big Ten fans out there, USC has the opportunity to come into the conference and provide some street cred, if you will, some Big Ten conference cred.
Sure.
The first game of the year in 2024, basically 4 weeks after USC is an official Big Ten member, and hallelujah, thank God that we're going to go to the Big Ten. USC is going to be playing LSU in a kickoff game Sunday night before Labor Day. And this is that'll be the first year of the 12-team playoff. And that's the same year we're going to probably be playing a 9-game Big Ten schedule. Oh, and by the way, we play Notre Dame that year as well. So it's 11 big boy games in the Big Ten. And a crucial matchup against an SEC team when we're going to be battling for playoff berths in the 12-team playoffs. So how cool is that going to be?
I'll tell you who knows a thing or two about beating SEC teams. Erica Goldberg, Iowa fan, who just beat Kentucky, throttled Kentucky in the bowl game. Welcome, Erica.
Go Hawks.
Absolutely. Oh, she might be
I'm
muted.
muted. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
I'm here. How's it going, guys?
Hello.
What's happening, Erica?
Great to have you.
Thanks. Thank you. I'm very happy right now because of how my women basketball team is doing. Very happy.
Yeah, go Buckeyes ladies, by the way. They've been doing very well themselves. So
yeah, there's 3 Big Ten teams right now.
A lot better than men's, right? I mean, I think the women showed out a lot better than the men in the NCAA tournament this year.
They did. Yeah.
Not good for the Big Ten.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got our buddy Ferris here. Thank you so much for your $4.99 super chat. Nobody in the now keep in mind he is a Michigan fan like myself, so keep that in mind. Nobody in the Big Ten beating Michigan, although I did just say 12-0. That's just a fact. Bigger question is, what does Michigan need to do to win a playoff game? And this is a great point because it goes back to what you were saying, David, about Ryan Day and playoff appearances. I believe that Ryan Day has positioned his team to win playoff games, and maybe a little bit to the detriment of like how Urban had the constant, like, you never lose to Michigan ever mentality. And he said something a little stronger than that, but I'm not going to say it on air. But he had that mentality. But now Ohio State has positioned it as more of a postseason 5-star wide receiver, deep passing game type team. And what does Michigan need to do to win a playoff game? How about get some passing reps?
Yeah, well, that was the one thing that I gave me some confidence going against Georgia, and I put in Mark's chat all year last year was, look at the last 4 teams that had beaten Georgia. No coincidence, they all had passing games. I mean, you go back to obviously 2019 LSU. We know they had Joe Burrow. You can go, look at 2020, the COVID year. Mac Jones, Kyle Trask had a big day against them in Florida, and then 2021. Bryce Young basically won the Heisman by beating them in the SEC title game that year. Mm-hmm. And I still wonder if Jamison Williams doesn't get hurt, how that game could have turned out. Because remember, Alabama led that game going into the 4th quarter. So, I mean, that game could have gone a different direction. It's unfortunate we wasted probably the best game of C.J. Stroud's life that night by kind of the 4th quarter implosion, so to speak. But that's why I thought we had a chance to match up against them. And I think that's going to be the key probably if you guys are going to have success in the playoff. I think you guys need your quarterback to play a little bit better and not throw the ball to the other team, John. I think that's
that helps.
Yeah.
But I would also say this time J.J. McCarthy actually has spring ball. If you remember, J.J. McCarthy was out all last spring. And then in the fall, he was splitting reps with the ones with Cade McNamara because they were in a quarterback competition all the way through the second game of the season. So this time around, JJ is the definitive QB1. They're reportedly getting a lot more passing reps because both Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are out for spring. So now the backup running backs are getting time, which they absolutely have to get time because Blake and Donovan are probably both gone after this year. And then the passing game, especially Cornelius Johnson, apparently is doing very well. And he was getting that confidence after the Ohio State game and others in the back half of the season. And now JJ and all of his wide receivers can actually develop that chemistry that I think they were missing because of just how much time JJ wasn't able to spend with the ones.
Yeah, that's probably the key to the season is just how good the passing game is, for you guys compared to where it was a year ago. Eric, any truth you're going to take over the offensive coordinator roles there for the Hawkeyes?
That was the rumor.
That was the rumor. I didn't know about that rumor.
You think you could do better at play calling?
What's that?
You think you could do better at play calling than Brian?
I think my pinky could do better than Brian. No, truthfully, I mean, I don't want to get into the Brian Ferentz thing. I feel like I do that every Monday already. But yeah, suffice it to say, I'm not happy. And I really wanted him, to go to the NFL. But what are you going to do, right?
Ferris also says CJ Stroud is a rock star, great kid, great quarterback, and I'm a Michigan fan. I agree. And I think he was given too much hate. The fact that people were Venmoing him hate messages about losing to Michigan, I understand that people take the rivalry seriously. CJ Stroud was one of your better quarterbacks, I think, in the last 3 or 4 decades. You put him, I mean, Justin Fields was great. Dwayne Haskins was great. CJ Stroud is up there with them. Yes, he lost to Michigan. That was the defense's fault. CJ Stroud was keeping you in those games, especially 2021. He was keeping it close until the 5-minute mark in the fourth quarter.
Agreed. I mean, I thought he played well in both games. I mean, I still would, if I was ranking, I might rank Justin a little bit higher. I still think he was kind of robbed of that 2020 season. It would have been interesting to see what he would have done that year.
That's fair.
Because of COVID. I think he actually would have had a shot at some of Dwayne Haskins' records. But yeah, I mean, CJ is great, and I hope he gets with the right team going forward in the NFL.
I would have loved to have known what could have happened with the Ohio State game we played this past season if we had Cade already. I think that would have been very interesting.
Oh, wow.
Well, just competent quarterback play would have probably helped you a little bit, Eric.
I know we lost majorly because of the quarterback. It wasn't because of our defense. Our defense actually did decently or pretty darn good against Ohio.
Yeah.
So, it's all about the quarterback play, and thankfully, P-Trash is going to be more of a coaching role this year. So.
Clipboard holder.
Yep.
That's not exactly a nickname for a term of endearment there, is it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right, you think.
Mike G is right. Just Cade to all. Well, also remember Luke Lachey, too.
Yeah, Luke is dynamic. He's going to be.
Yeah, you got him out of Ohio. He was his dad played at Ohio State.
Yep, and he announces on the radio, right, or something like that in Ohio now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you guys have been great at the tight end position. You know, I mean, you guys also have back the other tight end too. Is Laporta?
Laporta's going to the NFL.
Yeah,
oh, okay.
It's Eric All is going to be probably on the other side.
Yeah, it's going to be Eric All. Yeah.
Yeah, all Ohio connection there.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. He's from Ohio as well, isn't he? Yep.
Yeah, we got a little tangle in the chat here. A Damn Beast Media, you seem to forget that Bennett played against that defense every day. No one wants to give the young man. Yeah, what does Stetson Bennett have to do to get respect? I'd like to know that. I mean,
he didn't help his cause. He didn't help his cause with what happened during the off season recently. Didn't he get like drunk driving?
Oh, right. Something? Well, I mean, Baker Mayfield had a bunch of off season stuff too. He still went number 1 overall.
Yeah, true.
I'll say something. I was on some Georgia chats. I don't know if you guys have ever listened to our good friend Uncle Lou, who has a chat. Mm-hmm. And boy, some of the Georgia fans, it's amazing how Stetson turned his career around, because a lot of Georgia fans were calling for his head after that SEC title game loss that I mentioned earlier, John, when they got thumped by Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. And they wanted the USC transfer quarterback to play.
That's right.
From you guys. The name's escaping me. Yeah, Daniels. The U.S. They want. There were several Georgia fans. Uncle Lou was talking about that at the time, and I wonder what. I never got to see his reaction. He was so giddy after they won the national title. I guess he had to have a little bit of foot and mouth there after Bennett played great in both those playoff games in 21, and then played great again most of the season and in the playoffs as well.
Well, David, you're about to get well, first of all, LBC, you're on mute. I'm about to let our buddy Alex Martin back in. So now we've got the Buckeye contingent has just grown.
Yes. Good to have some backup here. Thank you.
I'll just make one comment on Stetson Bennett, and then I'll go ahead and jump off.
Okay.
But with respect to JT Daniels, he came in and was competing with Stetson Bennett, and JT played a few games before he got hurt. Credit to Stetson Bennett, because the guy was a walk-on, as you pointed out. There was probably a lot of the fan base that didn't want him, wanted JT. There was that division. We kind of dealt with that at USC. But Stetson Bennett did what he had to do for that team. And the guy played with a chip on his shoulder, and he's a winner. He won 2 national championships. Yes, he did have some off-the-field issues. I believe he was drunk in public. Hey, he's a college kid.
Yeah.
I was drunk in public many a time when I was in college. I never got caught, but
been there, done
spoken
that.
Like a non-Buckeye.
Yeah, and I never won a national championship. So my God, the guy's the king of of Athens, Georgia. Yeah, blowing up a little steam in Texas. Big deal. But yeah, credit to that kid. He doesn't get enough credit, but he stepped up and he won 2 national championships. And I didn't believe in the kid either.
I think,
but after he won the first one,
credit.
Give him the roses. I think he has a chance to make it in the NFL because he's all about the team, and that guy will work. He's got the work ethic to do what he did. But that's all I got to say. John, thanks for having me on the show. Erica, David.
Good job, man.
And is it Alex?
Yes,
take care, man.
All right. Good luck,
Have
you
a
guys.
good evening.
Okay.
Take care.
Absolutely. Yep.
Is our Penn State fan still on here? Because I think it would be cool to have a Penn State representative.
Come on in. Yeah, we'll take one more person because otherwise it gets too crazy. But one more person. Call the show. We'd love to have our Penn State buddy call in if he's still here. That would be awesome. Or, hey, if there's a Wisconsin fan, if there's a Nebraska fan, my dog agrees too. Yeah, we love anybody, Big Ten or otherwise. Come on in, let's chop it up.
Is Darrell here today?
He was earlier. I think he's watching with some women. He was watching some women's hoops, I know, for a while.
Oh yeah, that's on tonight.
Real quick, Mike G. Yes, Michigan is going to the Frozen Four in hockey. I know this is not the voice of college hockey, but that is a thing to briefly mention. Yep. Michigan beat Penn State in a thriller end of the game. Really cool to watch.
It looks like talking about Stetson Bennett started some conflict here in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Stetson. I don't know what. So, Stetson, here's the thing. Okay, I understand that Georgia had a lot of pieces around him. You could say the same thing about Alabama's quarterbacks. You could say the same thing about Ohio State's quarterbacks. 5-star pieces everywhere, 4-star pieces everywhere. But you still have to have that factor to be able to manage all those pieces appropriately. Monken's offense is not easy. So learning that and being able to disseminate that to the various personnel groups. And then, to play the way that he did. He played well.
I would just add big games. I mean, look at his big game performances. Playoffs, he played well. The game I saw him against Tennessee at home last year, I thought he played great in that game. Every big game he came to play over really for the better part of the last couple years. Now, that being said, I think he's got a long career of holding a clipboard in the NFL, but that's just my own viewpoint. I don't see him as a starter in the NFL, but I could be wrong.
Dan Beast Media, if you want to disagree with that, come on in or comment. We've got our Georgia fan. And I think he could see. The thing is, there are certain teams like Washington where I think he could start at a team like Washington Commanders, right? At a team like, I don't know, depending on how the Falcons go. I know that I think they have Desmond Ridder right now or something. But I think he could definitely be a conductor of the orchestra at a team that, like Georgia, has a lot of pieces around him. He isn't going to be able to Aaron Rodgers elevate the team to a whole nother degree necessarily, but can he be a starter? I think he's going to have to prove it as a backup or get into some quarterback competitions first, but he's done that his whole career.
It'll be interesting to see. Well, I'm going to get out. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Erica. A pleasure speaking with you, John. And unfortunately, you root for the wrong team. I'm going to let my Buckeye brethren, Alex, take it from here.
Sounds good. Evening. Always great to see you, David.
Mm-hmm. And ladies.
How about that? David Greenshield, friend of the show. LBC also. Don't forget about his show, the Trojan Show, every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific.
I have an interesting comment here. Jason said that JJ was throwing to 3 and 4 stars all year. Is that true?
Sure.
I thought that Michigan had more 4 and 5 stars rather than 3 and 4.
No. In the wide receiver position, you're thinking of Ohio State. Okay. Michigan tends to go 3-4 star. I think the last 5-star wide receiver was it Donovan Peoples-Jones? Maybe. I don't know. But it tends to be a 3 or 4 star personnel group in the wide receiver department.
Okay.
Running back, can have some 5 stars, quarterback, and people on the defensive side too. But yeah, usually it's 3 and 4.
I'm excited about our running back this year, Caleb Johnson. I'm really excited to see what he does.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see what Caleb can do. I'd like to see, because, Cade, I've told you this before. So Cade McNamara, in order to be successful, he is not the type that's going to just like take a team that doesn't have any pieces and take them to the promised land, right? But what he can do is, when there's really solid tight end play, which Eric All and Luke Lachey, you've got 2 of the best tight ends in college football.
Right.
Running back. Looks like you're going to do well at running back. O-line, sounds like you're improving at O-line. You've picked up some pieces at O-line. So with those things all in place, I think you've set up Cade McNamara to maybe win you a game or two that you like I've told you this. Like, I think because of him, you could win the Penn State game.
Wide receiver, though, we've got problems because we have 2 injuries already, and spring practice only just started, including one of the guys that I was very excited about from the transfer portal. So I'm a little annoyed about that, but hopefully they recover quickly enough to get some practice in at least before the season starts.
Oh, we've got R. Graw calling in. Got our buddy R. Graw. Good to have you on here.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for sort of having me on here.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've yet to call. This is the first time I called. I did actually. I don't know if you remember. I'm going to say about a week or so ago, I did try calling in, but it was my web browser wouldn't let me in, so I had to go with my phone. So hopefully you're hearing me fine.
You support, is it Nebraska?
No, Penn State, actually.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Yay.
So, because Eric kept saying, Penn State, where's the Penn State? And I was thinking to myself, yeah, where are the Penn State representatives?
Penn State. It's who calls in. I've said, please tell Penn State people, tell your friends. Illinois, Indiana people, tell your friend. Like, let's get some teams in here that we don't normally talk about. Let's talk Penn State football. Let's do it.
Well, what's funny is I didn't even call in for Penn State. It's funny because I called in for Nebraska.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk Nebraska football. And Matt,
you want to hear something? You want to hear something really funny?
You said something. Yeah.
I actually grew up with Matt. I remember Matt as a little kid in my neighborhood. I grew up with him on Roosevelt Island in New York City before he moved to Pennsylvania, became a Nittany Lion. Yeah, he was a kind of a dumpy little kid who got in trouble with a lot of kids, and look at this guy now. You never know who's going to become a superstar, right?
Yep.
That's awesome.
It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is that Penn State connection with Roll, obviously. And believe me, all you have to do is watch the chat, and you will see plenty of people say, yeah, I really, really wish that maybe Franklin would have been the one to go to USC, and then we would have ended up with Roll. There's a lot of people who are on board with that. And so I guess there is that sort of that connection with Penn State, Nebraska. But I guess I don't know, I'm going to say the biggest thing that I was noticing, I guess in the past hour when Nebraska was brought up was sort of, well, I don't know, Nebraska could eventually be good. And, it's going to be a process. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, why? Why is it a process? Because the ingredients are there. Nebraska obviously didn't perform that well. However, they were in a lot of really close games. That's sort of number one. Number two, the West was and continues to be wide open. It's not as if there's a clear front runner. I mean, when you have your front runners, Purdue, I was going to say when you have Purdue and Illinois as sort of like, running neck and neck this past season, you have some issues there. And then on top of everything else, Roll has a proven track record, and it didn't necessarily take him that long. I mean, he turned around, well, obviously Temple, but the one that really sticks out is Baylor, after they were going through some things, and he righted the ship, and he didn't have a whole lot to work with, and yet he made it work. So I guess my big question is, why is it that it is such a slam dunk guarantee that so many people feel that Nebraska doesn't have the opportunity or the capability to sort of, have a good season And when I say good season, what they had 4 wins last year. I don't mean 6 wins, but I mean beyond 6 wins. Considering when you take everything into consideration.
Well, can I start with that, because that's something I know I've been saying, is that I just think, and I've been hearing this from Nebraska media people as well, so it's not just based on my own thoughts on it. Matt Rule is very good at turning around programs, but let's not get it twisted. Nebraska and Wisconsin are at very, very, very different places right now.
Yeah.
Wisconsin already has a very good defense. Their personnel on defense is strong. Their running game is strong. It always has been. And now they're adding Phil Longo's air raid on top of having Fickle, who knows a thing or two about defense from how many years of coaching defense at Ohio State, and obviously being a defensive head coach at Cincinnati. So then you compare that with Nebraska, and let's face facts. They're in a little bit more of a struggle bus when it comes to personnel. What I can't think, like, can you help me think of like an equivalent, like, elite group at Nebraska that's at the same level as Wisconsin's defense? Because I'm struggling to find that personnel group.
No. Oh, honestly, no. And I do agree with you that Wisconsin is most definitely in the better position of the two. Yeah. I guess where I'm coming from is, why is it that it's an either or proposition where it has to be only one of these two sort of make a lot of strides when it could potentially be both? I think Wisconsin is in a better position. Wisconsin will have the better season, but that's not to take away or to say that Nebraska couldn't also make strides and make a splash and have improvement. I guess that's sort of where I'm at with it.
Here's the thing, though. Nebraska hasn't even made a bowl in how many years?
Right.
Like, I mean, it's just, I'm not a Nebraska expert, and plus I'm an Iowa fan, so I guess you could probably figure out what I think about Nebraska. Mm-hmm. But I don't see it. I think Wisconsin, like we just said, is in a much better position, and therefore it's an easier thing to turn them around versus a Nebraska team that never goes to bowls, that pretty much was good last century. And I mean, they have all the money in the world. They have all the, they have 5 stars, all this, and they have the tools to do it, but it's not going to be a 1, 2, 3 deal.
Now,
it's not going to be that
let's throw in Raiola and see how that changes.
Oh. Royal is going to go to USC.
I think he's going to USC.
I think so too. You're right.
Yeah, does he want to win a Heisman or not? I mean,
so if you're a quarterback, think about you guys. If you were a quarterback, and your options were a guy who has taken almost all of his quarterbacks to the Heisman Trophy, or at least the Heisman Trophy finalist. He's gotten them first round draft pick money, which, by the way, right now is like $20 to $25 million of signing bonus. So compare that to Nebraska. As good of a coach I think Matt Rule is a phenomenal coach. I have the record up here, right here. This is legit, right? This is 2 programs in a row where he took them from 1 or 2 win dumpster fires to 10 or 11. So you got to give him his props on that. But it's going to be a first year of a probably 2 or 3 year rebuild.
Yeah, they need to make adjustments.
Just think about, like, okay, on the one side, Nebraska's got the legacy, but on the other side, you've got USC and all the things I just mentioned. It's beautiful weather. It's the media market. It's Hollywood.
And Caleb,
out with
Caleb is the carrot. Like, Caleb is the carrot. So it's like, look at what you could become. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. I mean, so yeah, you're right. USC is the draw. Absolutely. Lincoln and Caleb. Caleb is just, I mean, what did he do? He was amazing. So, I mean, Raiola is going to be Caleb times about 5. He's pretty amazing. So, but yeah, I think it's USC, 100%.
I know that 247 at one point was giving the nod to USC as well. I don't know if that's still the case, though, or if anything changed on that front.
Yeah, so I've got it up here. So let's see. It's not letting me go on for some reason.
I think Fickle's the more compelling conversation there of the Nebraska to Wisconsin thing. Fickle's amazing. So.
Look what he did with Cincinnati. I mean, that's just like
hello, exactly.
So if you look here out of the crystal balls, so unlike with Jaden Davis, where they're all going Michigan, in this case you've got 55% going to a USC, You've got 33% going to Nebraska, and you've got 11%, which is one. The Georgia Insider, surprise, is saying that he's going to Georgia. I think, I think you're looking at a situation here. If you actually look at the recruiting, the people who are predicting each one, the people who are predicting SC, you've got Steve Wiltfong, very well respected, director of football recruiting for 247.
He's got 98.72% accuracy.
Very respected. You've got Greg Biggins. So the national people are saying SC. The Nebraska people are saying Nebraska. And I guess there's an Oklahoma in there too. And then you've got the Georgia inside. So it seems to me like I'd give more weight to that 55% based on the people that are actually giving these crystal balls.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I would agree with that.
So to piggyback, John, and what you said earlier about Days being against the wall, I agree. And I think because he's seen you guys up front, I think he's going to get less mental about stuff, less schemey about stuff, and going to get back to what football's about, especially Big Ten and college, which is, I think college in the last couple of years has become more physically oriented than throw oriented. And I think seeing how Michigan just slapped the piss out of us, I think he's got it now. So you're right. It's not even just physically he's back. Proverbially, I mean, he could be gone after 3. I mean, that's a tough thing because the what do you call it? The athletic director, Gene probably won't release him, but it'll be close, But I think it's just the fact that he's seen you guys now and how it really means. I think Harbaugh ended up creating an amazing team by accident. I think he didn't lead Michigan. He did the opposite. He said, yeah, whatever, I don't care. And everybody stepped up on the team and just became football players, which is, the basic game is violence and physicality. And I think all the players were like, you know what, let's play for this team. Let's play for this school. And they just rose to the occasion, and Harbaugh wrote it, to be honest with you. I don't think he's a brilliant coach, but I think Michigan players stepped up and made that team what it became. And that's what football's about. The Michigan players taught, along with Georgia, this country how to play football, which is get back to basics, get physical, and beat people up. And if you can do that, you're going to win. And I think they saw the writing on the wall after the last loss, like, oh my God, what am I doing this whole mental football game? And it's violence, get back to physicality. And I think if he can change now, not only remain more scheming on offense, but change definitely defense to more physicality, we have a better shot. Because Michigan, absolutely, John, we are back in the 10-year war. We're back as close to as anybody.
It's Bo and Woody all over again. And here's the thing that you I'm glad you said that that their back is against the wall. I have to. So Steve Dace said something, and normally I agree with his takes on football. I disagree with this one. He said Ohio State coaching would be the best head coaching job in the Big Ten. I actually disagree. I think that the Ohio State coaching job is by far the hardest, most stressful job in the Big Ten, because you're expected to win every game. You're expected to beat Michigan every year. You're expected to win a natty every 3 to 5 years. Is that fair?
I think Cooper. I remember being at school with Cooper, because I was there in the early 90s with Robert Smith. He was my friend, and it was so depressing. I think it hurt us so bad. Now we've got to be the best on the planet or something. Why are we so crazy about everything? We're nuts. We're absolutely insane in Columbus. And Tress got us there, and then Herb. But yeah, those years of Cooper, dude, were the most depressing years on the planet. I mean, I think that could be a reason why.
I'd say the Brady Hoke and Rich Rod years were more depressing. I'd counter with the Brady Hoke dumpster fire. So 2008 until 2014.
Oh yeah. Okay, absolutely, sure.
That was depressing.
Yeah. Anyways,
well, your buddy Jared, so another Ohio State Buckeye here, says Raiola is the next Tate Martell. Is that saltiness because he decided not to go to Ohio State, or is that some other reason? Like you've looked at his
that's a good question. I mean, we have Tate. Tate's I mean, we don't have tape. Who do we have? We have the other tape. What's the tape we have? Not Martell. Who do we have? We have another Tate. I forget. Our receiver, Tate something. Or Nate. Oh. Nate. Sorry, Nate, not Tate. Yeah, we lost Tate Martell. Absolutely. So that's saltiness. Yeah, I think it's saltiness. I agree with you.
Okay. Real quick, I'll do a couple of housekeeping notes. Don't forget to, when you're shopping on Amazon, to click on Mark's link. It takes 2 seconds, and you're getting stuff on Amazon. Just go to the description section, click the link. And I got an air fryer with Mark's link. I got some ebooks on Kindle with Mark's link. I got all kinds of stuff with Mark's link. It's so easy to do, and it helps support the channel and helps Mark bring this incredible content. The media guests that he brings every week to his shows. Please consider doing that. Also, join our Discord and Patreon and talk college football all the time. You go to patreon.com/MarkRogersTV. And as a special treat, we're going to be broadcasting the Michigan Spring Game Watch Party, April 1st at 3 p.m. And it's going to be free so that you can check out a little taste of what the Patreon is like. So definitely check that out and check out the spring game, which we'll be covering April 1st. All right.
I think you guys go crazy on Ohio State and just beat up Ohio State and all its problems, because it's kind of the carcass in the road that anyone can just jump on. So I say jump on Ohio State right now and just attack the team. Go for it, guys.
A damn beast. Yeah, come on back if you want to. If you're busy, don't worry about it. But we always love to have. I don't care if it's a Big Ten fan or if it's an SEC. I've had SEC people on the show. I had Tide Guy, Alabama fan on the show. We had the real MVP, Kentucky and general SEC fan has been on the show. So I don't care if you're a Big Ten fan or not.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun with the real MVP last time.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's get a Vandy fan in here.
Vandy?
Oh, that would be something.
Oh, wow.
Or, the Rutgers of the South, I guess you could call them that.
Oh. Uh-oh. I think you might be starting something. You might be starting something there.
Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen, and I'm not, no disrespect, this is going to come off as a major diss, and I don't mean it this way, but I literally don't think I've ever seen a Rutgers or a Vandy fan in any of Mark's channels or videos at all.
No, not that I can. They're not very well represented. Probably right.
I wonder why that is.
Funny story. I can't remember how many years ago it was. I lived not that far from State College, but there was something going on the campus. There was some kind of, protest or something along the lines, right around Old Main out front in campus. And, all these people were sort of rabble rousing. They had their posters, they were protesting. And across the street, there was like 1 or 2 people that had a counter protest that was going on, had nothing to do with it. And the poster just read #kick Rutgers out of the Big Ten. So that's sort of where a lot of people are at. I think.
Oh boy.
Oh my God.
Everyone knows it's Rutgers.
I gotta be careful.
Dweller,
I gotta be careful, and not necessarily just we don't want to offend the Rutgers people, but also Rutgers has had this historical tendency of playing us extremely close and even beating us in 2014. So I got to be careful with my Rutgers disrespect because they might pull off another one with Schiano. Antoine here, when Michigan fires Ward Emanuel, they'll be 100% better off. If you've seen the Michigan Wolverines live show, which I know Antoine has, I have said a couple of times that I think Ward is on the way out. When your president of the university is negotiating with the head coach, that's a problem. If you've ever been in a job and the CEO is talking to a rank and file employee and they're avoiding the middle manager, that middle manager should be getting their resumes out, because it means that they're probably gone. And so it's an indicator that I think by June, Ward Manuel will be gone from the University of Michigan. I'm not going to crystal ball that, but I think that might be a possibility.
I like Mike G's comment here. Erica, there are no Sparty fans here. Do MSU fans have the internet?
We've had a couple of Sparty. They tend to show up during the season to talk some crap. they tend to show up every once in a while during the season. Oh, here we go. Super chat. Jason Moose. And please, we have a whole panel going and we're talking about a lot of topics. So your comments are probably not going to get read as much. So if you have a super chat, you are going to get read because we appreciate everybody contributing. Jason Moose says MSU fans have Tuck coming on repeat. Michigan about to get decommit 4-star wide receiver Marsh from MSU and 5-star quarterback Underwood from Belleville, Michigan, trending to Michigan. Yes, yes on both. I think there's a very good chance that Michigan could get both of those recruits. Absolutely, Tuck coming. So, what do you guys think about Mel Tucker? So, so he comes in. He has he beats Michigan twice. And so because he beat Michigan twice, he got a huge raise to $9 or $9.5 million a year.
Too much.
What do we think about that?
He's overrated. He was like a 1 or 2 hit wonder. I mean, I don't know. He had that one good running back, Kenneth Walker, but that's it. And then also his team, like the whole incident with the tunnel last year. I mean, I know that we're talking about football, but I mean, character, to me, as an Iowa fan especially, character has to do with it. And what they pulled did not show high character at all. Bad sportsmanship.
Like coach players. I mean,
I was going to say, but the whole
Mr. Angry and stuff. I mean, that's my take on him, Mr. Anger. Like that.
So here's his record. Let's discuss the numerical record of
2-6
of Mel
2-5. Oh my god.
Of the Mel Tucker. 2019 at Colorado, 5-7, terrible. 2020 Michigan State, 2-5 with a Michigan win. So they all love that. 2021 Michigan State, 11-2 with a Michigan win. His one good season. And then you've got it seems like the average is a 5-win coach.
Well, that's why I said he's a one-hit wonder. These numbers prove it.
Absolutely. Okay, friend of the show, a damn beast media, Georgia fan is in the house. Welcome back.
Hello.
How are we doing this evening, everyone?
Good.
I'm doing great, man. I'm glad you could call back in.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy night, but that's okay. That's what keeps it interesting. And speaking of busy, this show has been busy. Yeah, I mean, you guys have been all over the place. There's been so much that has piqued my interest in tonight's show. So, good on that.
We appreciate that.
So
so you're learning about the Big Ten a little bit here.
Let's talk about Georgia's secret Georgia fan. Can I bring up your secret Georgia fan? I've realized what Georgia's secret is the running in practice. Did you see any of the taping of the practices before the playoff game with us? You guys practicing, Georgia practicing. Yes. Did you see any of that?
Oh yes.
Oh my gosh! And that's the answer. That is clearly the answer to me. Why you guys gas everybody in the fourth quarter? Your practice drills, your running drills are insane.
The conditioning at the University of Georgia under Kirby Smart is like the program. It is elite. When he came over from Alabama, one of the first hires he made was Scott Cochran, who was Alabama's strength and conditioning coach, which he had worked with for 8 years at Alabama. And that was one of the biggest coups he made when he decided to come to Athens. So what Scott does, what Coach Strickland does, because he's an on-field coach as well, what he does for that program and the people who are on, his assistant staff in the strength and conditioning program is very, very, very cutting edge, and not just running around the circles, whatever. Anybody can do that. The difference about the way Georgia practices.
But you know what's interesting about that statement? Nobody else does. No, and Kirby's the one to go, what? So
the difference about the way Georgia practices is, well, look at what Dan Lanning did. When he took off and went to Oregon, one of the first hires he made was the top assistant to Strickland at Georgia. He took him with him. So Lanning knows what it takes. You have to have that level of conditioning to be able to win the game late when you play the way the Dogs play. And you don't have to have, you don't have to look far. to see that it works that way. Like, even just go back to the 2021 title game against Alabama. After the game, that game turned after a blocked field goal, and then it was late third quarter. There were like 3 minutes left in the third quarter. That game broke open at the end of the third quarter because you had the blocked field goal, and then the very next play, James Cook gets loose for 60-plus yards down the sideline, and from there, it was game on back and forth. But you could see right there that Georgia was starting to win the battle along the lines of scrimmage. And
it's conditioning. You're right. It's conditioning.
Right. On the field, after the game was over, Nick leaned into Kirby and said, y'all kicked our ass in the fourth quarter. So, that's what it is. That's who Georgia is. So if you don't show up to do that, then it's going to be a long day. Now, with that said, one of the things about this past year's team that Kirby was less than happy with was how the conditioning looked. It's not that they were in bad shape, but he just knew that if they were going to beat Ohio State, if they were going to win the national title, that they just couldn't let up. They had to keep going. So and if you wait till the bowl game to try to get in shape, you're not in shape, and you're not going to be in shape. You have to do it 365. I have a wonderful story just from, two stories actually, since John's here as a Michigan fan.
Yeah.
After Alabama beat Georgia in the SEC title game last year, one of the narratives that came out of that game was that Georgia, because of the way Alabama ran their offense with 4 wides and a lot of running to space and that sort of stuff, one of the things that defense was criticized for was their conditioning. They were like, you looked like you were winded. From the time that game ended until they played Michigan, that was the thing that they took personally. And then when they showed up on the field against Michigan that night, clearly that was they had made up whatever they had lost. They obviously had a high level of conditioning, but they had made up whatever they may have lost. Or even if they didn't lose anything, they were so pissed off about being told that they had that they were ready to rock and roll against Michigan that night in Miami. So, but the second story comes from this spring, and it's really pretty funny. Everybody knows Brock Bowers, I assume, right? So a wonderful story about Brock Bowers is Georgia, if you pay attention to recruiting, that Georgia has just not missed on a tight end that they wanted over the last 3 or 4 recruiting cycles. So in that tight end room right now, yes, Washington just left, but you've still got Bowers, you've still got Oscar Delp, and then they just signed 2 more 5-star dudes to this class that are on campus now, and they have a 5-star committed for 24 at the tight end position. So
embarrassment of riches.
That is a top tier room, any way you cut it. Well, those 2 freshmen that were early enrollees and are on campus right now, during the offseason workouts and then the first practice or 2, the team was having to run what they call 110s, right? So you start at one goal line and you run through the back of the end zone on the other end at the end of practice.
Did you actually see the drills before the playoff? Did you actually see, like, they showed it before the playoff, like actually Georgia doing drills before?
Oh, yeah.
Did you see Did you see the?
Yeah. That was the
I played football. I've never seen anything in my life like the intensity these guys are going through. I was like, wow, that is the answer. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, that just shows you all you need to know about what Kirby demands of that team. And it doesn't matter if you're a freshman or a senior. Are you familiar with Bloody Tuesdays? I mean, like, that's what this is all about. So
in the middle, baby.
So anyway, back to my story.
Yeah.
They were running 110s. And so Brock Bowers, everybody knows he's an All-American twice, Mackey Award winner.
Yes.
He is he's phenomenal, right? He does everything the right way. These 2 freshmen, tight ends, looked at Brock and they teamed up against him. And they said, you know what? Tell you what, I'll run against Brock on 110, then you run the next one. That way we can catch our breath. And at the end of the day, we can outlast Brock Bowers. And 16 110s later, Brock had left those dudes in the dust. They had to quit. He made them quit. That tells you what kind of competitor Brock Bowers is. He's an absolute machine. So, yes, that level of dedication and work is what it takes to play, to get on the field at Georgia. So, but there's been a lot going on in this chat. Like, we've covered everything from Raiola to Stetson, for goodness sake, to...
Well, I want to toss something at you.
Okay.
Carson
Michigan,
Beck,
Ohio State. Good.
Carson Beck, Brock Vandegrift, Gunnar Stockton. Who wins the job?
Okay. Let me just give you a straight up answer, and then I'll get into the rest of it. I think Carson Beck takes snap 1 for the University of Georgia in 2023.
I agree.
Now, I just posted a video about this a couple of weeks ago on my channel, so if you really care, you can find it over there and hear all my thoughts. But Carson is simply, he's a guy that has a championship pedigree. He has spent 4 years learning under, 3 years learning under Monken, but 4 years in the program. This is year 4. And he is completely in love with what Coach Bobo is doing with the system moving forward. The kid has a really, like, he can really spin it. I'm not going to make any claim who has the stronger arm, he or Brock, but it doesn't really matter. I think arm strength is overrated mostly. The thing that Carson has is he can really spin it. He's accurate. His technique is good in the pocket, and he runs better than average. He's not going to be as fast as Stetson Bennett. He's not going to run 4 or 5, but he can run more than well enough to pick up a first down when you need him to and evade pressure. The thing that's going to be the determining factor is who can play quarterback better. So Brock is phenomenally talented physically. His release has never been quite the same as Carson's. It's a little bit longer, a little bit slower. He hasn't always made the best decisions. So that's why Carson is the leader at this point. There is a possibility that, especially given the schedule that Georgia's going to play early in the year, that you're going to see both of these guys play. But I think Carson is the number 1, and then Brock is the number 2. And even if nobody's going to know that until the season starts, by the way. Nobody's transferring out after the spring. So if you're looking for a quarterback, don't look here. But Gunnar is the third guy, and he is a guy who is eventually going to take snaps for the University of Georgia and win games. I just don't know if he's going to be the number 2 or the number 3 this year, because I think he's going to push for that number 2 slot. But I think Carson is number 1.
Interesting. Yeah, it's always interesting when you have these battles. I mean, you did lose Todd Monken, who, by the way, I think Todd Monken is still one of the most underrated offensive coordinators of all time. So you see what he did. First of all, at the he had to people gave him crap for the Cleveland Browns, but understand that Freddie Kitchens was calling the plays at the Cleveland Browns for the most part, and I'm sure Monken had input on personnel groupings and kind of certain things like that, but. I think you really saw what he could do in Georgia the last few years, putting the pieces together and getting you over that hump that you kind of were at in that kind of, maybe you win a playoff game, but you couldn't quite get to that title. And I think Kirby Smart's good on defense. We know that he is going to put together a defense. He's a defensive coach, but Monken, I think, was a key piece. Do you think that with him gone, do you think that consistency will continue? I forget who your OC is now, but
it's Mike Bobo, and it took about 15 minutes for him to be elevated to that position because he was in the room with Monken all last year. Bobo in this past season had a lot to do with the Bulldogs' red zone packages, especially inside the 10-yard line. He had a lot to do with organizing that and things like that. So, they're going to be fine. Again, it's a system. What it comes down to, there are going to be a couple of wrinkles here or there, but what it comes down to is the system is going to remain the same. And Monken said as much. It was his job to score the football. So when you had the sort of talent, and I'm speaking about like Bowers at this point, when you have that kind of talent and the backs that they've had, then you have to make sure that you give those guys an opportunity to make plays for you. And he did a really good job of that most of the time. And the bottom line is, this is an old football adage, but it is absolutely, team me. What's good for the team is what takes priority, and it doesn't matter who you are. So that there were moments when people would look at the game and say, where is Brock? Why doesn't he get the football? And that's because of the system that Monk can run. Yes, you have plays designed to get him the ball, but there are no forced plays to him. You read it out. And that's something that not every college quarterback is asked to do, which circles us back around to why people hate on Stetson so much. It doesn't make sense to me because that
my mic was muted.
Do a lot.
Can I just add to what you said before? You guys, Georgia plays like actually one of the most complete team plays as a team. And the thing I've noticed about Day is he focuses on individuality. And I think the key that Georgia has, where Kirby, like you said, is like, you're nobody, you're the team. Like that ethic is close to what Michigan pulled off on their own. Like that's the ethic that you need to have to be a good team today, I think, is get that basic thing of just, we are the team, the unit, not the individual stars. And I think that's why Georgia, another element why Georgia is phenomenal. Is
he learned from Saban. Remember, he was a Saban disciple, and Saban does the same thing.
That's true, but at this point,
like with the individuals, I think Smart takes it to another level. It's like you are just he even destroys each player. Like if you hear in the practices, he just obliterates players. Like you are a piece of, get back and
here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing.
Goes, I don't know. Yeah, I hear you.
The difference is every one of those players. I mean, look. I'm not making any assertions about you or anyone else, but the bottom line is, unless you've been that level of athlete in that position, it's hard for us to pass judgment on what it is that's happening, because every one of those players comes to the practices before they commit. They watch regular season meetings. They watch spring practices. They know what they're in for. They come to be coached hard. So none of that is a surprise. Like there was a viral clip from this last year leading up to the Tennessee game where Kirby was getting on Keely Ringo. And then you fast forward to Saturday. What does Georgia do against Tennessee? Absolutely curb stomps them. What does Keely Ringo do? Key interception to cap the first half. I mean, that's what it takes to motivate those dudes. Those dudes are not me. They're not you. They have to be reached in a way that you and I might never understand. And I think who knows better how to do that than the coach that, they have been with.
Can you imagine Kirby? Can you imagine Kirby running Ohio State? I mean, with just the sheer talent of the Buckeyes. I mean, that would be like, I don't even know what.
Well, this is a Big Ten show. And so I'm not trying to hijack the show. I just wanted to call in because there's just a whole lot of overlap here. There's a whole lot of overlap here because, one of the questions I've had as as a fan from outside, looking at the Big Ten between Ohio State and Michigan, and sometimes people laugh at me, and maybe I deserve it for being naive. But what I have never quite understood and wanted to ask is, do Michigan and Ohio State put too much into their matchup? Because from the outside, what it looks like is you guys are having a regional brother fight, and sometimes that gets you into the playoff, but that record is not super strong once you get there. So you guys make a big deal of it. It's a big deal. I'm not saying it's not, but is the focus wrong? Are you trying to beat Michigan, or are you trying to win a national title? I think that's the question.
Let me address that, and then Alex, you can go. So I think that from the Ohio State side, under Urban Meyer, they were even more about the rivalry. They were even more about, you don't lose to these bleep ever. It was very intense, and he beat Michigan 7 times. We all know. Lost to Michigan though when he was in Florida, so at least got that, Tim Tebow. But Michigan is currently taking that approach that Urban took. They have gone, starting after the 2020 abysmal season and 2021. What are you doing to beat Ohio State today? It is a regional mentality, and I agree with you there that for us, for Michigan fans, we were so just done with losing to Ohio State. It was time to bring back the 10-year war. It was time to bring back the rivalry where it was trading back and forth at the minimum. I'm not saying Michigan has to win every year. I'm just asking for 5 out of 10 times, and the other 5 times Ohio State wins. Make it fair. But your point about national team is very well taken, because I think what Ryan Day has been trying to do is, yes, the rivalry is important, but going beyond, he takes a larger picture at the postseason. And I think that's why they're more successful in the postseason than Michigan, because they've honed their passing game to a level where it's elite as the number one ranked team in the country when it comes to offense specifically and offensive productivity. So I think that your answer in my mind is, I think Ohio State has done a better job of positioning as a postseason player than Michigan has, and it remains to be seen if Michigan can get to that status when it comes to postseason.
So would you say it's to the detriment, so much so that it's to the detriment of your team, or is it just the way it works out?
It's tough to say I mean, it's tough because when you're like practicing throughout the season, I do like the fact that they have Ohio State Day. They basically have a day schedule. I believe they still do this, where they have a day every week dedicated to Ohio State. But I'm hoping that with JJ actually having spring ball, remember, I was saying this earlier, he was out all last spring. He was splitting reps with the ones with Cade McNamara in the fall camp. He was competing for the job through game 2 of the season. So now I'm hoping that with Kirk Campbell as the quarterback coach, with what they're doing with Cornelius Johnson and his massive improvement from the beginning of last year to what he did versus Ohio State and what he did in some of the latter games of the year, I'm hoping that the massive increase in reps will help the passing game get to the point where a national championship appearance at least is possible. And that's why Blake Corum's coming. That Blake Corum would not have come back, period, because he was going to the NFL. He was going to get NFL signing bonus money, okay? But he came back to college for one more year because he believes, as did Zach Zinner and Trevor Keegan and Cornelius Johnson and Rowan Wilson, they all came back and said, we're going to do one more year because a national championship could actually be in the cards. So I'm hoping that the reps help. Alex, what do you think about the whole idea of Ohio State kind of positioning more as a postseason versus Michigan?
Oh yeah, that's an absolute. Ryan was, he was coming from the NFL. Ryan was you're 100%. So we're all about our postseason games, 100%. So how do we get back to the season which we slept through? The second half we completely slept through. I remember in Northwestern, we were just like, huh? Is there a game happening? Other than what's his name? Other than the running back, what's his name? Mayan doing the actual game for us. Yeah, I mean, we were just asleep at the wheel for the second half. So yes, but back to the Michigan Ohio State games and rivalries, and I mean, wow. I just saw recently a documentary that's like on the internet all over the place. It's a 50-minute one about us, about the rivalry between Michigan and Ohio State, and just the fever and stuff. And it just wasn't even there in the early 90s. Like Robert Smith was a friend of mine, and he could not stand Cooper, and he quit the team. I mean, it was that bad. It was the malaise of Buckeye football was just horrible. But it's back, obviously, post Tressel and what you call it. But Michigan and Ohio State. And I want to just say, this is definitely the year for Iowa, Erica, for sure. There's not even a question. There's not even a question, but Michigan, Ohio State, I think that's the most compelling story this year. I don't think it's Georgia. I don't see it this year for Georgia. Last year, absolutely. Not this year. Bama's still in a working area as well. This is definitely, minus maybe USC, going to be the year of Michigan, Ohio State, and what the teams do this year. So, I mean, that's just a huge Bible there, and it's the year. It's the year. I mean, this is the year of Michigan, Ohio State. What was your question? Sorry.
Georgia. Well, I think you kind of tackled it. But I actually want to hear from Argraw if Argraw's around, because I want to hear from the non-Michigan Ohio State perspective. Argraw's a Penn State fan. I'm curious, how do you feel about all this with Drew Aller coming in as a 5-star quarterback, the 5-star running game that you have? How do you think you're positioned for success against Michigan and Ohio State to put yourself in that same echelon as the other two?
In terms of sort of the expectations for Penn State, it's a little bit conflicting because the pieces are there and they should be able to do well. They should be able to perform. But at the same time, and like I have brought this up before, sort of in the chat at different times, for all of the successes that James Franklin has and all of the good qualities, because he is certainly a good coach, he also cannot get out of his own way at times. And then when you have these big, perfect example, how many times have you seen him go to the wire against Ohio State? Constantly plays them incredibly tough.
True.
And I'd say over the course of the past, let's call it 5-6 years, whatever, minus obviously there's one more win in sort of the win column for Michigan, but consistently I would say that they have played them closer than anyone else in the conference. But what happens is Franklin does the Franklin thing, and he finds a way somehow in the fourth quarter where he's like, you know what? Where's that self-destruct button? I know it's over here somewhere. I got to smash it. And then that's what ends up happening. So with
finding a way to lose.
Exactly. They have to find that way to lose to Ohio State. It's a given. Happens all the time. But with all things, if sort of they're hitting on all cylinders and Franklin doesn't do the Franklin thing and he does well, there's absolutely no reason why Penn State can't perform well. There's absolutely no reason why they can't win those difficult games. And that includes, either Michigan or Ohio State, take your pick or both. If I'm pressed, I'm going to say they're going to win one of them, but not both this year. I think if you give it an extra year, maybe with Drew Aller, like the following year, you could tackle both, but it's a matter of let Aller and that backfield get a little bit more experience, and then they could run the table potentially. But this coming season, I could definitely see sort of hitting one of those two. You don't know which one. It's really difficult to say. Again, it could definitely be Ohio State because he does perform well against them, and if he doesn't blow it at the last second, he could win one in the shoe. He could come away with one. It's possible. Otherwise, you have Michigan at home. That's going to be home one this year. Mm-hmm. He could get, especially if it's a whiteout, although Fox might screw the pooch on that, make it a big noon kickoff.
Very possible.
Yeah. So there goes the whiteout, and that's going to get spent on Iowa. No offense to Iowa. No offense.
No, but that's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah,
well, that's okay because I think it's either of our team's game this year. I mean, our defense is going to be explosive again, so and we have a lot more pieces this year than we did last year. And
I'm going to say that Iowa actually beats Penn State. I'm putting my bet out there right now. Yeah. Iowa beats Penn State.
Saying that too. So having the addition of Cade McNamara and Eric All, who have literally proven that they can they've been able to make a play to beat Penn State in a game. They're familiar with how Penn State rolls. Are there going to be differences between 2021 and 2023? Of course there are. But the fact is, I think Cade is, if there's going to be a quarterback that Iowa has that can actually beat Penn State, it's Cade McNamara.
Not to mention we beat Penn State even with P-Trash. I mean, granted it wasn't Kinnick, but still.
Yeah, I'd say apart from that game, because that was a super tough game, and that sort of went to, that went to injuries and whatnot. That sort of ended up being the deciding factor, which I always hate having to say that, but there are times where that is legitimate. But Franklin plays, I'll give him credit here. He plays well against Iowa, and he usually doesn't seem to have that much of a hang up. That's a contrast from the Paterno years where, for whatever reason, when Joe Paterno was coach, Iowa was that thorn in his side whenever, perfect example, the 2008 season. They had the HD offense. It was phenomenal. They were cruising along. They were, beating up on everyone that came across them. They had the national championship, on the mind. and then they go to Kinnick, and then that's that. Or I think it was at Kinnick, if I remember. It was the last second field goal. I can't remember which it was. It was Beaver Stadium or Kinnick, but that ruined the season.
Do you know where I think Penn State's really gonna blow people's minds? I think they're going to really possibly, sorry, John, maybe beat Michigan. I don't know. Just seeing it. I don't know why. What do you think?
It's possible.
Anyone?
It's possible.
Well, I'm seeing it.
It's like I said, it's possible. Like I said, if I'm pressed, I'm going to say, honestly, I could see this being a 2016 scenario. I think, there's a good chance that you have the top three teams with Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State having one loss apiece. They sort of beat each other. That's a very strong possibility. I could definitely see something like that.
Iowa too.
Then it's a matter at that point of your tiebreaker scenarios and whatnot to see who actually comes out ahead and goes to play for the championship game. But I could see that scenario taking place. But again, if I'm pressed, I'm going to say Penn State's going to beat one of them this year, but not both.
I think Michigan is going to once again punch us in the face, and we're going to be so tested in that game. I can see us maybe barely winning. Michigan's going to be so prepared for that, but I think somehow they're going to just maybe put the snooze button on that morning of the Penn State game. Just my thoughts. I don't know why. I think Penn State's going to be like, yeah, you don't know us, but we're Penn State. And Michigan's going to be like, wait, hold on. Wait, you're not Ohio? Like, what's happening to us? Like, Michigan's going to be thrown against the wall. I can see it. I don't know why. I just see it. Maybe I'm wrong.
I really think, Aller, he's going to do a pretty good job. Obviously, to sort of step right in and take the reins right away, that's asking a lot, but I think he is up to the task. That's not to say that he doesn't have, he's going to need some time to at least settle in. You can't expect someone to come out of the gate swinging and just perform top notch. That's not realistic either. I would say that he could have and should have had more of an opportunity this past season to get more playing time than what he did. Everyone knew what you're getting with Sean Clifford. The guy's been around playing for Penn State for 582 years. He is
right.
Assuming he were to somehow get drafted, he'd be the only person that would also be signing his rookie contract and collecting Social Security. I mean, he's been around forever, but it's just the idea that Franklin really should have given Drew Aller a little bit more playing time than what he did, I think. So there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but I think he'll do well overall.
I'm struggling with the schedule, guys. West Virginia, that's probably a dub. Sorry, Joey. Delaware, dub. I don't see how you get past Illinois and Iowa without an L. You're at Illinois. Now, I understand Illinois is losing some pieces. It's at Illinois.
Iowa, yeah.
They're still going to be tough.
Illinois is not gonna beat Penn State. Iowa will. And I'll tell you why.
Iowa will beat them probably, yeah.
Illinois is losing too many people, and they're not as, how can I say this? Like, Iowa's losing a lot of
Bielema-esque, right?
NFL, but we're so deep in defense, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, we're still going to have, the top 5 defense. We always do, if not better. So,
It'll be Iowa.
I think Illinois has a lot to prove this year. I know we're not talking about Illinois right now, but I think they've got a lot to prove because people were hyped on them last season, and I don't think that's going to be the case anymore after what
Bielema got lucky. This is Iowa's year. Iowa's definitely going to be Penn State. Just my feeling. Absolutely.
Now, my question is, let's obviously you're going with Iowa. So let's say that's not going to be like a big noon kickoff, and that's going to go to whiteout territory.
Yeah,
what happens?
I think so. I think
what are your thoughts on that? Because that's a completely different atmosphere. That's like saying I'm going to go play a Kinnick at a 1:00 kickoff versus I'm going to go play there at 7 where bad things happen at Kinnick at night.
Yeah, but you know what? That doesn't, how can I put it? That's not going to scare off Iowa just because it's a whiteout. That's not going to scare them.
Wow, that's such a good point. Iowa doesn't get scared in road games. That's true.
We're not scared of that. Like, they're still going to go in there, play their game, and try to win. Doesn't matter.
Well, I don't know. I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Whiteout versus noon and
I couldn't tell you like maybe the course of, let's say, the last decade, but I'm pretty sure the last couple of years that I was going to Beaver Stadium, it hasn't gone well. I think the most recent time I was at that game and Penn State murdered them. It was not pretty for them. Actually, I left early that game. It was that bad. So they don't. It seems like they don't play as well on the road against Penn State. It's just one of those matchups. So that's something I can consider.
I don't think it's going to be as easy. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be as easy of a win as you think if you guys do win. I think it's going to be close. I'm not saying Iowa's going to walk away with it and it's going to be easy or something. I'm not saying that. But I just think that Iowa has better pieces this year. They have an improved offensive line. They have arguably two of the best tight ends in the Big Ten, probably at least. And our defense is still our defense, and our special teams is still going to be our special teams. So I think we have a fighting chance. And I think that they're not scared to go to other stadiums. Yeah, Kinnick is the place where they play best, of course, but they're not scared of other stadiums.
Yeah, I think a big piece is a big question mark is how will Cade McNamara play post-injury? So there were times in so if you look back at his body of work, I mean, there were times when he played very well, including in the Penn State game in 2021. But then there were also times when he didn't play very well, like throwing picks against Hawaii in 2022 and other things like that. And I'm wondering which Cade McNamara are we going to see? Are we going to see the consistent game manager / short and medium pass expert, not so great at the deep ball, but he gets the job done, was able to beat Penn State? Or are we going to see the other one that we saw in the latter half? I'm hoping it's the former. And I think
personally, Cade, if JJ didn't exist, dude, Cade would be a phenomenal leader of Michigan. He is a phenomenal quarterback. Not even a question. So I don't know about that. I'd say I think it's Iowa's year. It's the Ohio State Michigan games year, and Penn State is going to be the new Georgia of the Big Ten. It's going to be this new testing ground for amazingness. These are the four teams that are without a doubt going to, lead the Big Ten. There's not even a question.
So we got UMass. You got the UMass Minutemen. I think you're going to beat the Fighting Don Browns. I think you're going to beat them. You got the Buckeyes. This is always a hard game for James Franklin. I don't know if I just don't see it. I think this is an L. And then you've got some wins. You're going to beat Indiana. You're going to beat Maryland. And then we get to the final three. And I think you're going to win 2 out of the 3 for sure. And the question just becomes, can Michigan do enough at Beaver Stadium to get the win in a situation where maybe they're – I do think they're favored barely right now. Michigan's favored barely, but it's close. I don't know. That one's going to be the question mark. Can Drew Aller do what he needs to do?
What's the situation with the quarterback at Penn State now? Because obviously Clifford's gone.
Yeah, that's Drew Aller, who we've been sort of discussing. He's
Drew Aller.
Yeah, he's really. There's a lot of high hopes and high expectations for him. He's a 5-star. The little bit of playing time that he had certainly didn't look bad at all. And he definitely has the backfield to complement him. That's something that, for whatever reason, no one wants to talk about, is the freakishly good backs, the tandem that Penn State has. Incredibly
Kayvon
good.
is amazing, dude. Kayvon, exactly. They always downgrade Kayvon. I've noticed that. He's insane. He's an amazing back. Go ahead, take it. Yeah.
A lot of people talk about Nick Singleton, and rightfully so. Nick Singleton is really good. Sure. But for some reason, people seem to not talk about Katron Allen. And I'm going to be honest with you.
Not Katron. Sorry. Yeah.
I might be in the minority here, but I kind of think he's a little bit better than, from what I've seen.
Yes.
He has
100%.
Very good. He's very well-rounded, but Katron, they can run him in a couple other formations. They really like to run like a jet sweep with him and cut up the middle with him. And they had a lot of success with something like that. So I kind of think he's a little bit better. And that's saying a lot because Nick Singleton is very good.
100%. 100%. Kayvon is you guys, sorry to interrupt, hon. Your Kayvon dude is like our Dallin Hayden. You know Dallin Hayden?
No. I do.
No, look up Dallin Hayden. He's our guy that nobody wants to talk about because, well, Singleton's already there. Well, Travion is already there. It's like because the players are already there. Forget about the new guys that are amazing. Our Dallin Hayden is by far the best back we have. Not even a question. And I think Kayvon has the same issue with it, where everybody's kind of going, oh yeah. And Katron. Everyone's kind of not quite helping this poor kid out, and he is amazing. Katron is by far, to me, your best back. He's amazing, dude.
Wow,
he's amazing.
Receiving yards too. He's got 188 receiving yards, 20 receptions. I mean, yeah, he might be used in the pass game a little more this year.
Yeah, so they
throw it out of the flat. Yep.
They certainly have options. They have options in the ground game as far as picking from either one of those two, depending on what package that they run, what the scenario might be, if it's short yardage or whatever. But yeah, they also have an extra receiver essentially that's coming out of the backfield in Katron Allen. So Drew Aller certainly has weapons around him, and it's, boy, I hate to say this because Penn State fans have been burned on this so many times, but it's looking like the offensive line looks like it's more than just like, a couple varsity players on like some scrub team. It's looking like they might actually be able to do something. They are returning some starters from last year. It looks better than, they're making improvements, incremental improvements. But at the same time, we've heard James Franklin say, "Oh, this is the best offensive line since I've been here," and like he says it every year. And it's like, James, we've heard that before.
James seems like someone who
so
says a lot of stuff, like very much of like kind of a showman almost.
That's exactly
so full of it. You're right.
As someone who's outside the footprint, the Penn State situation is I'm a little conflicted. Because don't forget, I saw James Franklin up close for 9 seasons, I think, at Vanderbilt.
Andy.
And the thing about James is he is a good coach until proven otherwise. He's not a great coach. He's a good coach.
I agree.
He's a great recruiter. And so Penn State as a whole, I mean, I have tremendous respect for the program. And I think that just because they haven't done anything recently as far as, claiming the top spot as a representative in the playoff. I know they won the division or won the conference a few years back, but didn't get the opt-in because you didn't have a title game. So I know they have won, but just because someone hasn't broken through doesn't mean they can't. So I'm just in the boat where James Franklin has to prove it to me. So, and I got to say, the kid that's going to play quarterback for Penn State, listen, I haven't watched enough of him to have an opinion, but I'm telling you, if everything that I'm hearing about him, I just can't see how the kid can win, honestly. I think if he goes out and
Drew Aller is amazing. Check him out. YouTube Drew Aller, dude. This kid is amazing.
I'm sure he's great, but everything I'm hearing seems to tell me that they think he's the savior. And I'm just saying, he might be a 5-star, but he couldn't beat out Sean Clifford. And he's going to have to learn on the road or on the ropes, learn the ropes as he goes this year. He's going to make mistakes because it's his first major time playing. So I'm not saying Penn State can't win the whole thing, right? The conference. But until they do it, I'm going to doubt James Franklin. I just don't have any faith in him.
I would, I guess, to sort of, I guess, almost strengthen your argument about James Franklin is because you were saying about not being able to beat out Sean Clifford. I don't necessarily think that was the case because there were times where, Drew Aller showed flashes of, hey, you should probably keep me in over Sean Clifford. But he pulled a Scott Frost and absolutely refused to, say, you know what, maybe we should go a different direction. I mean, he was insanely loyal to Clifford. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying Clifford, didn't do well. We were all very happy for him in the Rose Bowl with the performance he had against the Utes. But you pull the average Penn State player and you're like, yeah, Clifford needs to go, but Franklin wouldn't hear any of it. He just sort of I think he let emotion get in the way of his better judgment.
Sounds a lot like our former quarterback.
That will keep you from a championship for sure. That sort of thinking. So it's, and again, I don't have an opinion on the Aller kid, but from everything I hear, I kind of feel bad for him because it just seems like he's been so hyped that it doesn't really matter what he does. It's not going to be good enough unless they go 15-0. And I don't think they go 15-0. So I mean, I'm sure he's going to be a great player. So don't read anything into this. I'm just saying I kind of feel bad for him because he seems to be way overhyped considering that he hasn't really had an opportunity to show it yet. So with that, I got to step out of here. I got games going. I got to get to work. So
we appreciate you for coming by, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been fun. Like I said, you guys are all over the place, and it's a fun listen. It always strikes me how funny it is that there's so much overlap between the storylines that are running through the Big Ten and what's happening with my university. So it's interesting. There's always something for me to listen to. So thanks for having me.
So I just put the link to a Damn Beast Media channel. Go ahead and give him a sub.
Oh, well, thanks.
Because there's a lot of good content on there.
I appreciate that, John. I closed out my YouTube window so I could get into StreamYard, so I didn't have the feedback. So I appreciate that very much. And if you do pop by, just know I'll strive to be worthy.
Well, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for coming by tonight.
Yep. Y'all have a good evening.
Enjoy the games. Bye. Awesome. Well, that was fun. So yeah, definitely check out a Damn Beast Media YouTube channel. Great insights. Obviously, Georgia fan, contributes and calls in.
I was biting my tongue the whole time.
Why?
Why? What do you mean why?
You
didn't watch the game? You didn't watch the game?
Well,
our playoff game with them?
Ohio State. Okay.
I thought you meant like he had said something tonight here.
No. He's a nice guy. No. It's kind of the same thing about those guys up north. No.
So is it? So what? I mean, it's starting to feel, and like Michigan takes the Ohio State rivalry obviously super seriously. It almost seems like Ohio State now has these rivalries with Georgia and with Clemson that are at that same level where it's like I'm on the Clemson show and talking to them, and the animosity is there.
I know. It's crazy. I know. It was Clemson for like 2 years, and now it's Georgia. It's like hold on. We have Michigan. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're totally right. But yeah, Michigan, Ohio State, and Iowa, and Penn State. These are the 4 teams on the planet for me. I really don't care about. Now that Georgia shed so many, now I can say it, like they've shed so many players, dude. They're not going to be the Georgia of last year, not even close. Bama too. I'm not worried about the SEC this year. This year it's 4 teams. USC maybe. It's the 4 teams of the Big Ten. We're just going to be rocking. Aller's going to do something. Cade's going to do something. Michigan is going to just walk around, be the bad asses they are, and they're gonna rock. And then we've got crazy amounts of talent. And Day will do some stupid stuff. It's going to happen. Go ahead, take it away.
I was going to say that I'd love to see what USC is going to do defensively. I know that was talked about a little bit before, but I feel like if they're joining the Big Ten, they need to work on those special teams and they need to work on that defense because they're not going to get far if they don't have a good defense. I just feel that way. I don't know.
Well, regardless of if you have a good defense or your team doesn't have a good defense, sometimes you need a hoodie to zip up, or sometimes you need a T-shirt or a coffee. And I'll tell you how you can get that is you go to Mark Rogers' swag line here at topqualityshirts.com and get yourself some Voice of College Football merchandise. So I've already gotten myself a T-shirt. I've gotten myself a coffee mug. And look at this. There's something for everybody here. You've got your shirts. You've got look at this. A candle. We now have Voice of College Football candles. We've got pint glasses. We have laptop things. We've got hats, reversible bucket hats, slip-on canvas shoes, swimming trunks. So they're really, yes, you can wear your Mark Rogers Voice of College Football swimming trunks next time you get to the pool. Oh, and we got yoga leggings. So there really is something for everybody. Wine tumbler, yeah. So it's stuff you can support the Voice of College Football. If you get 2 items or more, you get a discount. So get stuff for your whole family, friends, neighbors, everything else.
I have to say, you are the Billy Mays of college football.
Got to get the beard dyed black first, and do that.
But don't die like him, bro. But don't die. Yeah.
No, I'm keeping it as is.
Ripping pepperoni.
I'm keeping it as is. Don't worry.
No, don't die like him. He passed away, so just don't die like him.
Oh well, that's also
Billy Mays passed away. Yeah, that guy was awesome. Well, he's gone.
So I'm friends with Billy Mays III, his son, on Twitter. He's really cool guy.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah. Follow him. Give him a follow on Twitter. All right, let's check out some more comments here. We got with the chat.
Can I ask you guys to do? I know Wednesdays are morning and stuff, but to do a little deep diving into the carcass that is this crazy team that I'm from, because we know that Iowa is definitely Cade. I mean, Cade is the hope. And we know that Michigan is the triple threat. I don't think a lot of change is happening, but we are just the most confusing thing on the planet, because it's like, aren't you supposed to win everything all the time? And we don't. If you guys had any constructive criticism about Ohio State, I would love to hear it.
Constructive criticism about, I guess I'll start.
Destructive criticism is fine too.
Well, first of all, we do thank Mike G for the comment about the black hoodie. So that's a real testimonial from somebody who checked it out.
How about the comment regarding the candle?
I was just going to say that.
A candle comment? I missed that.
Can we hold that candle for the Rutgers program?
Oh, that's hilarious. That is really funny.
I need to stop. Why is it that I end up every Monday night insulting Rutgers?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know.
There are no fans in New Jersey, just to let you know. Nobody's a Rutgers fan in New Jersey, just to let you know.
You know what? Yeah. I'm really excited about a quarterback that we got from New Jersey who's coming in the summer, Marco Linez. Very excited, I have to say.
Never heard of him.
I think.
We have McCord. He's definitely go to Iowa, or you recruited him, or?
Marco Linez, yeah, we recruited him and we got him, and he turned down other programs to stay with us. I think Penn State may have been one of them.
I think next to Ohio in the Northeast, Jersey is kind of the place for football players. It's Ohio and New Jersey. Yeah.
So I guess I'll answer your question. It's interesting because I actually don't think that you're doing anything fundamentally okay. So I guess the thing that, and we've talked about this, I think, on the show before, that Menace to Sports also said, where they talked about the fact that Urban Meyer was more of that CEO mentality coach, right? So he was looking at the bigger picture. He was looking at all components, offense, defense, special teams. And yes, Ryan Day does that too, but we all know that he focuses more on the offense, the play calling, the quarterback. And Urban Meyer had that top-down approach where it was like, okay, he, the 1 year he told his defensive coordinator, I want you to switch to the Michigan State system. I want you to change to Michigan State's defense. Because they are such a bee to fight against. So why don't we switch to the Michigan State defensive system?
Which is what? What was that defense? What was that defense? Yeah.
So that was the Narduzzi defense. I forget. Somebody can put in chat what the actual scheme
okay
was.
We're going on. Sorry. Good.
Yeah, but meanwhile you've got on the other side, you've got Ryan Day. He does that too, but he is laser focused on the offense. So I'd say the one thing he could do better is, for example, Knowles. Knowles is a great defensive coordinator. No one will argue with that. The defense was a 4-3, by the way. It was a 4-3 defense. So Anyway, so yeah, I just think that like Knowles, maybe there's a switch up or two that he could do. He does a lot of zero blitz. He does a lot of. It reminds me a little bit of Don Brown. Now it's different, of course, but notice in that Michigan game what happened. What happened was they sold out to stop the run so much that Cornelius Johnson looked like Odell Beckham Jr. out there. And JJ looked like Aaron Rodgers. And that's not, let's face it. Okay, I have all the respect in the world for JJ, love him as a quarterback, and Cornelius and what he's accomplished, but they're not Aaron Rodgers and Odell Beckham Jr., okay? And that's because you had all your people coming after the run game. You had all your people coming after and stacking the box, allowing Cornelius Johnson to get open to that level. And so I think those
to respond to what you said, Mark actually said something really brilliant, as usual. And I added something to it. So fundamentals, what's his name? Basically talking fundamentals, Knowles, his version of, yeah, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't be overthinking things and do some like hard smash mouth football, no more, I'm such a smart guy and 80 cups of coffee. And so he's owning the fact that they've got to get back to fundamentals. And then Mark said something genius as usual. And I'm like, oh my God, maybe? Because I complained to him about Eliano and Walton, because I don't know, a lot of people, at least in Ohio ranks, are kind of like, these are the two like worst coaches we've had in a long time, since Brown or whatever. And what's his name? The guy before Knowles. And he said, you know what? I think Eliano and Walton may not be getting along with Knowles. I was like, whoa. It's like, wow, yeah, maybe. That's something that makes sense, because it's like, really honestly, our front seven, even though Knowles is doing the whole brainy thing, I mean, we still got some focus there. We're still pretty good. And our secondary is just like, with the talent we have, like, I mean, you've got, what's his name? Number 12, the safety we have, Lathan Ransom. He is one of the best safeties ever in the game of college football. He's amazing. And he's just playing like crazy. And I'm like, that's Eliano. So, but my take is that our coaches are horrible in the secondary. And he was like, yeah, I think Knowles is not really content with these two guys. But then Ryan's not doing like what you said. He's not being the CEO, and he's not jumping in there and saying, what can I do better with these guys? He's like, yeah, the defense, whatever. So, yeah, our defense needs to get back to fundamentals. And our offense, I think, is awesome. But we've got two running backs that we're too in love with, like Singleton, Penn State. We're too in love with, and we can't get over these two guys, Travion and Mine, and they're just not the backs we need. We have Dallin Hayden, TC, Caffey, and Chip Trainum, and they are just psycho good. So, like, we've got to kind of refocus our running backs and get over the schemey thing of defense and start beating the shit, excuse the language, beating the pulp out of people, and get a little smarter with the offense and move around things, more scheming the offense, and then run like crazy like Georgia. And then actually we'll be a team that's worthy of the 7,000 5-stars we have. So, anyways.
Rod Farva, another Ohio State person, is talking about Ryan Day hiring Coombs over Marcus Freeman. Why didn't they hire Marcus Freeman as DC?
Oh my! I had no idea he was in the. I had no idea Marcus was a possibility. No idea. Wow, that's sad that we didn't get him. Of course, really sad, because Combs is an idiot. Absolutely. I mean, he sucked. He was horrible. So, but yeah. I don't know why Marcus. My God, our brother. Why do I don't know. That's sad. That's really sad to know that. But anyways.
Oh, urban influence. Interesting. I don't know. That's
Urban. Oh no. So Urban probably said, "Hey, Kerry."
Oh, okay. Urban was in Day's ear to hire. So why does Urban still get to be like this? Okay, here's what I don't understand. He's like kind of a special. What is it? He like a special advisor to the head coach or something. And then he's also he gets to be a journalist / whatever you want to call him at the same time. I mean, that seems like a little bit of a conflict to me. But yeah, but he has enough influence to influence the defensive coordinator of Ohio State still.
Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, that's sad.
I get that. Okay. has recruiting ties already in Ohio. Yeah, but still, like, I mean, you know, Marcus Freeman was potentially an option, and you go with this other guy who
I know.
I don't know.
Wow.
I
didn't
guess
know that.
Hindsight's 2020.
Totally.
Yeah,
Day was probably like clueless then.
I was searching a damn beast. I was searching for the right word. Commentator. I'll go with commentator. Yeah. All right,
I think
guys.
Day is great. I think he's just too freaking brainy. It's like he's a genius, but it's like, dude, just remember there's violence involved. It's football. He's like, oh yeah, that's right. I got hit too many times as a quarterback. It's like, just you gotta be more fundamental, man. You're a smart guy, but relax. He let it out during Georgia. He was like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna play football. Like, and he was going crazy on the sideline. You should have seen him. Like, yeah. Did you see Day during the game, the playoff game?
Yes.
He was not in his usual. You saw him, yeah. He was not his usual self. He was like freaking out. I was like, yeah. I was like, that's football. Like Urban. Urban would flip. I loved Urban's antics on the sideline. Wasn't he hysterical?
He was something. I mean, I didn't really enjoy watching him on the sideline.
Oh my God! I'm asking a Michigan fan.
Michigan was usually on the losing end on those. But I am going to wrap it up here. I do want to thank everybody for being on the panel, and everybody who's called in, everybody who's sent a super chat. I'm going to give everybody a final thought, and we'll kind of let everybody go one by one. So, Alex, I'll start with you. Final thought.
Oh, no, let me be the last one. One. Everyone go.
Erica, yeah. Erica, final thought for you.
Oh, goodness. Well, we've talked about a lot tonight.
Yeah, we have.
I think that it's going to be a very interesting year for the Big Ten, given all the different changes and new players coming in and just all the different, quite frankly, banter between all the teams. I think it's going to be fabulous. So that's my final thought, I guess.
Love it.
And we'll talk
Eric,
next Monday.
Yeah. So I've got your Twitter up here. That's the best way for people to find you, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's Eriquita011 or 0115 on Twitter. I post there about Iowa football and women's basketball nowadays too, because we're doing so well with women's basketball. And then I post just about traveling and dogs and about politics. So if you're interested in any of that,
there you go.
Hit me up and join in the fun.
There you go. So give her a follow on Twitter. I'm followed. I follow her. So check her out. And yeah, we'll see you around. If you show up to the Michigan show, I won't be on the Michigan show. This way, I have a business that I'm going to be out of town, but I'll be back next week. But anyway, great to see you as always, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, Argraw. Really appreciate you calling in for the first time. We really want more first-time callers, and especially Penn State. Like I just want to branch out because that's like my biggest thing. Like, okay, it's Michigan, it's Ohio State. Let's get some other schools involved in this. And so thank you for stepping up.
No problem. Like I said, it seemed like the university needed kind of representation, at least in terms of calling in. I know there's a couple people, in chat that are they're following Penn State, they're Penn State fans, but they just, for whatever reason, don't seem to call in. So thought I'd sort of go ahead and do that. Take one for the team, I guess.
There you go.
I guess I'll leave you with the hot take because I'm thinking to myself, what could I say as parting, a parting comment, and why not, just watch the chat blow up with angry things by saying that Penn State, my hot take, Penn State by far has the best backfield. Will have the best backfield in the Big Ten.
Wow.
Yeah, you best like that one.
Whoa. Hold on. Michigan brings back Blake Corum, and you're saying that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
This is where I put this is where the difference lies. Michigan.
Wow.
Michigan could arguably, I'm not saying that it's a definitive thing, they could arguably have maybe top 2 best offensive lines in the country. Outstanding offensive line. Penn State is like a laughable joke half the time. But those 2 backs, unbelievably talented, unbelievably good. If you had those backs with that line, look out. I feel bad for whoever's in front of them.
Well, I wanted the Penn State perspective. I got the Penn State perspective.
You got it. Hey,
I may disagree, and I may believe that Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards are a smidge higher, but that's the fan bases. Everybody has their fan base, right? Yeah, I knew Jason would blow up about that.
Oh yeah, He's one I had my eye on.
I think that we were very fortunate to get Blake Corum back. I really do. I think he's the difference between winning a playoff game and losing a playoff game. He's the difference between beating Ohio State and not beating Ohio State. Beating Penn State at Beaver and losing to Penn State at Beaver. He's the difference maker that I think we would have beat TCU and gotten to the national title game. But there's your hot take. The hot take of the night, folks.
There it is. Like I said, not taking away from that backfield. Very good backfield. I will give them all sorts of credit. Absolutely. But like I said, I compare it. I guess I would say it this way. I compare it to Emmitt Smith. Excellent back, right? Excellent back. But he would not have that kind of success if he had an insanely good offensive line with the Dallas Cowboys. And that pains me to say because I cannot stand the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, Argraw, appreciate you coming in. And is there anywhere people can find you on Twitter or anything?
Not too much. I really don't do the Twitter and whatnot.
Okay. Don't do the Twitter.
It's mostly, it's a lot of drama, so I try to stay off of it. Although, believe me, with this show and the call-ins in the chat, there's drama to be had. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, Argraw, thanks for coming in, and at least you can catch Argraw kind of around the chat sometimes and occasionally calling in. So we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
All right. Thanks for being here. All right, Alex. As promised,
I got nothing, my friend. Well, my thing is always the same thing. I'll say anytime I get the chance to do this, which is anybody please give me criticism on Ohio State, because I'm always trying to figure out the enigma that is this team, Ohio State. I'm always trying to make sense of the enigma. I think Michigan's pretty clear cut. Ohio State's just, for me, anyone, what are your ideas? Like that, I'm always trying to plumb people for ideas on Ohio State. It's just what is going on,
Well, Hartline,
that's my only thought.
Becoming OC, Hartline, I think they had to make him OC. It was either that or they were going to lose him. Because with the level of recruiter that he is, I think another school was probably going to poach him at some point, either for a high level OC or for a head coaching role. So I think he did need to get promoted. But do you think that he's going to be able to keep into account the run game? Because obviously we know that was a weakness of last year. Can he coach the run?
Supposedly, from what I understand, Fry is kind of manning the run game. Did you hear about that?
Okay. Fry. Okay.
Did you hear about that? Yeah. And I was really? He's supposedly on top of Alfred or something. I'm like, okay. Alfred doesn't have a strong backbone. Notice when he talks, you just leader anyone sense. Larry Johnson, it's whoa, okay, this guy
he's
leads,
the line coach, so that does make sense. He's the O.
Of course, no, absolutely, 100%.
Same thing with
but Hartline. Yeah, but Hartline with the running, like you said, I don't know. Is he a running kind of guy? That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Is he, I don't know. Fry is just a, she's a language badass. He's just old school, what are you talking about? He's great for the running game. Absolutely. But so I have no idea what Hartline would add to it. But yeah, I what I look for really is just the nasty bad stuff. I guess maybe it's the New Yorker in me. I want the down and dirty so we can really fix things, with the team. Because I will post tons of stuff all over, vlogs and be this and that and this and that, because I want it out there that we should probably do this and that. I feel like Ohio State fans especially are not good at being too realistic about sometimes our faults and stuff, and it's guys, we got to work on this and this. I wish I knew the answer. So I always ask everyone, especially Michigan fans, anyone, just what do you think sucks about us? What should we be doing better? That's what I want to learn the most anytime I'm on these chats. It's just learn about Ohio State. Is they're the enigma for the entire college football world. As you look at them and just how many great recruits do you have? And you play that? It's like, dude, I don't know.
And then you come within one field goal of beating Georgia and probably being the national champion. So it's very much a tale of two teams.
Oh yeah. I know we should have won that, absolutely, but I mean, I don't know what team showed up then. I don't even know who that team was. Who was that team that showed up? I think the real us, sad as it is the team that was playing through the year. Like, we're just kind of like sleeping through. It's the coaching, like you said. I don't know if it's CEO maybe, but just it's the coaching in general. The coaches are just, what are we doing here? But like, I think it's, what, someone gives you like $8 million and you're just like, wow, and you either spend it all or you just don't know what to, like, the coaches don't know what to do with such an amazing team. That's the problem. It's like, it's too good of a team, too much talent, and then just kind of like Day makes like whoever much money, and what's his name has to prove things. The Michigan State coach has to prove things, so he's got a lot of money, but he knows his team sucks. So like, Ohio State's so good, I think everyone's just sleeping. It's like, we're Ohio State, we're the best. It's like, yeah, but you know what? People punch you in the face and you suck. And they can't wake up from it for some reason. And Day is definitely, I don't know. Like, I wish I just had every person in this country talking to me and saying like, it's this or this, because I would post all the answers. Like, I want to fix this team. I want to fix Ohio State, and Michigan has no problem. Michigan is just one of the most sound teams in college football. Michigan and not Georgia anymore. Michigan is so sound. Michigan is like playing what football is meant to be for 100 years. Like, Michigan's where it needs to be. It's an amazing team. So
I just think we got to position ourselves. Michigan's got to position ourselves for the postseason more. And I'm hoping that all the reps that JJ is now getting with Cornelius Johnson, Rowan Wilson, Darius Clemens, and some of these talents that are coming up, I hope that that's enough to win a playoff game, because that's really the next step to hit. Alex,
okay.
Listen, Alex, thank you so much for coming and being part of the panel tonight and hanging out with us.
You got it, brother.
All right. See you around.
Take care, man.
Bye. All right. Anyway, thank you for coming in tonight. I know it was a little bit weird with the switching of the videos, so thank you for bearing with us through that, through Mark Rogers' block and my block. And we will be back next week at the regular time. So this was just a one-off. So starting next week, we'll be back at Mark Rogers' Voice of College Football, 6 to 8 Eastern, and then we'll be having, I believe it'll either be me or Corey Bratta. We're going to try to rotate the hosts out so that you get a fresh perspective of the Big Ten every so often. So stay tuned on that. What I can say is that coming up in a couple hours, USC Trojans Live with Matt Zemek and special guest host Tim Prangley is going to be there to host that. So stay tuned for USC Trojans Live in just a couple hours, and I think you'll enjoy that. Everybody in chat, yes, thank you. It's been great. It's been great talking with you. Yep, wide receiver depth and talent. Yep. So check it out, and thanks everybody for coming. And until next time, and I'm going to say it, go Blue.